Good evening and welcome to a very special ELOSOFUMARTAKES live from the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studio of Azle, Texas. I'm your host, Barry Duplessis, as always, and I'm so proud, so pleased, and so privileged to be with you all tonight. It's going to be a fantastic show, a very special combination show with the Smoking Syndicate. We got roundtable number 16 coming your way, but before we get to formal introductions of our panelists, our honored panelists, we do have to thank the people that make this show possible. That, of course, is our sponsors. And tonight's show is sponsored by Drew Estate. Drew Estate has announced it once again. Yes, Liga Privada Porchetta is back on the menu as exclusively at Casa de Monte Cristo. Drew Estate proudly announces the return of the highly anticipated Liga Privada Unico Serie Porchetta for 2024 in collaboration with Casa de Monte Cristo. The exceptional culinary-inspired cigar now comes with an updated footband and corner sticker reflecting its 2024 release. Renowned for its unique flavor profile reminiscent of the traditional Italian roasted pork dish, the Liga Privada Unico Serie Porchetta is once again available exclusively at Casa de Monte Cristo retail locations. Jonathan Drew, founder and president of Drew Estate from the Wynwood Safe House, pontificates Porchetta is a meaty, in-your-face, turbulent journey of flavor and aroma. It's hard-hitting yet smooth, kind of like Larry Holmes' jam, powerful but controlled. Our 2024 release continues this legacy of depth of complex notes, same blend, updated packaging. Go figure. Go to Casa de Monte Cristo today and pick up your Drew Estate Liga Privada Unico Serie Porchetta. And welcome, everybody. This is our 307th take, along with roundtable number 16. It is my pleasure to welcome in tonight's guest, sponsored by United Cigar. Smoke one today and start living united. We have Will Cooper, Dennis Fang, Aaron Nielsen, Trip Waldrop, and special panelist guest, Mr. Matt Booth. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
Fantastic, Bear. How are you doing?
Oh, just
I've missed you, man.
I've missed you, man. This is going to be one awesome heck of a show. So we're really excited about it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Hello, everybody. Good to see everybody on this fine Sunday evening.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good to see you guys. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been.
I don't know. We can probably get into this a little bit more, but it's been an interesting several months post PCA. I feel like, that was many moons ago, but just the buzz around the industry doesn't seem to be quite like it was in years past post-event. So I'm glad we all get to connect for whatever reason tonight, but the main reason being great to see you guys always.
Hell yes.
Yeah. It's I kind of agree with that, Aaron. I think it's interesting, like this time of year, we're kind of still riding high from the buzz of the trade show that would have happened back in July or something. And it's just kind of almost kind of like, I don't know, it just feels a lot different. It feels a lot different than usual. But nonetheless, if we could bring the mood down even more, actually, one of the reasons we're meeting tonight is to in honor of one of our panelists who obviously couldn't join us tonight, Mr. Ben Lee. The Smoking Syndicate is his baby, and but we're putting together a great roundtable in honor of him and all of his neighbors in Western North Carolina. We'll be talking about Operation Airdrop here in just a little bit, but we wanted to bring awareness to that great organization that's doing great things for the folks in Western North Carolina as they recover from Hurricane Helene. Who would have figured, man? 2024 hurricanes and mountains. It's pretty insane. So,
Bear, it's interesting. I was talking to Ben when this thing was happening. I said, Ben, we're in North Carolina. You're 350 miles off the coast. This thing's coming inland. You're not getting a hurricane. Like, don't worry about it. And honestly, I learned a lesson from that because that area is like, I've never seen any sort of devastation within a 2-hour radius of my house ever. And it's bad. So I feel bad. But it goes to show you, gotta look out for these types of things.
Weather's a peculiar thing. Cooper, you fared pretty right. Okay. You're in Charlotte, and
we had a lot of rain.
But that was it.
We had the rain, but it was interesting because there's a highway that cuts up from South Carolina up to like Virginia and Kentucky called I-26. And basically, if you were at I-26 or west, you got pounded by this thing, and if you were east, you didn't. My daughter, who lives in and her husband, they live in Columbia, South Carolina. They got hit pretty bad. They had some physical damage to the house. Everyone's okay. Not to the level that Asheville got hit, but it's kind of due south, about 100 miles south of Asheville, or 150 miles south of Asheville. So again, you just don't know with these types of things.
Well, I would love to say that this is the first time a hurricane has affected one of the members on our team, but Trip, you've been hit by one too. So, and recently,
We got another one coming on Tuesday, dog.
Ben's been through multiple.
It's coming like it's right in my face. That's what's gonna happen. Hurricane to the face.
Yeah.
So we'll see how we fare. We may not have power for most of this week.
Yeah. Ben was hit by Katrina, I believe. When he was living in the Gulf. So Ben's been hit by multiple hurricanes. This ain't his first go around with a hurricane, but in the mountains, I think he never expected it.
Yeah, it's just it's unbelievable the devastation that we're seeing in Western North Carolina. But we're gonna be smoking a cigar, fantastic one here in just a few moments, and we're going to go ahead and get started here. But again, wanted to thank Mr. Matt Booth for joining us. We're going to be smoking one of his cigars and reviewing it. So Matt, thanks again for joining us tonight for a very special round table. And hope you're doing all right there on the West Coast. Nothing crazy weather happening up there or anything, right?
Dude, I wouldn't have missed it. And we're, the only weather we're getting is on the TV, and we're watching this thing unfold with everybody, and obviously our thoughts are with everybody, man.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Well, welcome, Matt. We really appreciate it. So what before we kind of get started, I know Dennis just had to walk away for just a quick second, but what just for everyone out there who's never actually been part of one of our roundtables, we're going to go through this cigar. We're going to talk about the specs obviously here in just a few moments, but we're going to go by thirds. And for those of you who are tuning in live, you get the special commentary in the middle. So I've prepared some questions. I've mixed in my own segments for my own show, and kind of we're gonna have some fun with some things that we're gonna try to have as much fun as possible in the wake of a horrible disaster. But we got some fun questions, so there should be entertaining content, and then we're gonna smoke what we all hope is going to be a tremendous cigar tonight. We'll be giving our thoughts throughout each third of the cigar. And at the conclusion of the evening, we're going to be giving a score on the dreaded 100-point scale, 100 being absolutely perfect, 0 being should never have left the factory or even smelled tobacco in the first place. I don't know where I could have come up with a better metaphor for 0, but that's the scale. That's where we're going with, and that's how we're going to be rolling tonight. So Coop, if I'm going to go ahead and go through some specs, and then you can you can add some commentary. I know because this and Matt, I know as well. You guys can talk a little bit about this. Is a very special project within the Room 101 brand because this is its third iteration. But what we're going to be smoking tonight is the third iteration, which is now produced at Tabacalera AJ Fernandez in Esteli, Nicaragua. The Room 101 Johnny Tobbaconaut consists of an Ecuadorian Connecticut shade wrapper over a Mexican undisclosed binder and Nicaraguan undisclosed fillers. We are smoking the Toro size, which is a 6 by 52. Comes in boxes of 20s. It's also available in a Robusto 5 by 50, a Perfecto 6 by 56, and much to Coop's delight, a 6 by 60 Gordo. All of the Vitolas come in boxes of 25, with the exception of the Perfecto, which comes in boxes of 10. So, Coop, tell us a little bit more about the history of this blend, and Matt, I'd love to get some of your thoughts as well too.
Yeah,
I have thoughts.
Yeah, what's interesting is I remember this blend when it came out, when Room 101 1.0, maybe 2.0, depending how you look at it. But it's when Matt was partnered with Davidoff for a lot of that production and distribution. And I think it was released, Matt, I want to say 2015 it came out.
That is correct.
Yeah, I remember I remember it was New Orleans that I saw this in the last show in New Orleans. And I think it was a great cigar. And that was an all Nicaraguan cigar at the time. And then obviously when you retired and came back, certain things changed in the portfolio, and some of the brands started coming back. And the second release of this, I believe, went to Luxury Cigar Club.
That's correct.
Yep. So far, so good. And at last year's trade show, the third iteration was released, which is the one we're smoking here. What was really interesting about this, Matt, There was a cigar you had, and Bear and I are really familiar with this cigar, but we're going way back into the archives of Room 101, the Room
Oh
101
my.
Connecticut, the Room
Oh
101,
yeah.
Mhm.
which in my opinion was one of your unsung. It was it came out the same year as Namakubi, I remember,
Right.
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
it was equally as good. And I know it made a very lasting impact on Bear and I. And I think when we saw and tasted this cigar, not to give too much away, back at the trade show, at least I got memories back of that Room 101 Connecticut here. And so I was really happy to see this, and to see this come back as a Connecticut, I was very excited because I know what you've done with Connecticut's in the past, especially that one.
Well, dude, I have a specific angle that I like to approach Connecticut from because if it bears my mark, it needs to please me as well as hopefully the masses. Maybe they find it moderately decent. Maybe it's a universally accepted moderately decent cigar, but I think it's fantastic. And my twist on Connecticut is basically, I need it to give me more activation. I need it to be smooth and sophisticated, but I also need it to give me force in my nose if I choose to retro, and I need it to give me enough spice and body to drive the mouth smoking experience. And I think that correlates with, I mean, that's just my personal preference, but I think that combination um makes for a Connecticut experience that the lighter body to medium body smoker is going to not be scared off by, that it's going to be pleasant and smooth everywhere it needs to be. But the smoker that typically favors a stronger, burlier smoking experience is still going to be kept tuned in to this blend because of the way that it performs on retro. And this one specifically because of its three region filler composition from Nicaragua, from the different regions. Man, it's an activating smoking experience. It's my favorite blend that we make, quite frankly, for my personal smoking.
Yeah, no, it was. I mean, it got a lot of attention from our team coming out of the trade show as well. And it was like I said, I think we talked about the packaging as well on this thing. And it's you, man. But it's innovative, it's creative, it's sleek, and like I said, even the bottom of the box is pretty cool. This is the bottom of the box, which I've never seen a design on the bottom of the box.
So fancy. Get lifted.
I know. I thought it was really cool with that. So
Get
yeah,
lifted.
yeah. And we're smoking Toros tonight, everybody, right? The 6x
Mhm.
who's yeah. So we're gonna
Six
be
by
smoking.
50, 6x52. Aaron,
Yeah.
Aaron. Now I know you. Of course, you've bought the box several times on this cigar.
Yeah.
What Vitola do you typically gravitate towards?
So I would say a majority of the cigars that I purchase are Toros. And I've had the Johnny Tobbaconaut in a couple different Vitolas, and I'm glad we're reviewing the Toro because it is my favorite Vitola in this line. So
Awesome.
good things to come. I can't wait to fire it up for my probably 400th time. But guess what? It'll probably be number 399.
Nice.
Yeah.
So just in case anyone's tuning in, Aaron's spoiling a little bit of probably what will be his end result. But as a reminder of tonight's experience, again, the roundtable is all about the cigar in front of us. I believe everyone here has actually smoked the cigar and has their opinions in place. But what we try to do is judge the smoking experience that we have. And so, as I've explained before, sometimes we might enjoy a cigar and it just does not hit right that night, and so that score might be reflective of that. Or we may not have favored it in the past, and for whatever reason, it hits the palate just right, and they get a more favorable score than what we normally would have accustomed to giving. So it's all about smoking in the moment. And that's what the roundtable is all about. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and crack these babies out of the cellophane. Matt, you sound looks like you're already lighting up. Are you smoking a Johnny Tobbaconaut, or are you smoking something else?
I am smoking Uncle Lee.
All right.
I should have smoked Johnny Tobacco. I could go fetch it.
That's
When
totally
I'm
up
done,
to you.
I'll go grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Dennis, real quick on you. What do you first notice about after you break the cigar out of the cellophane? What do you notice about your Johnny Tobbaconaut?
Bro, notice the girth of that cello though.
Well,
Before you go to the rod, go to the sheath.
the sheath.
Look
I
at the
will say
quality.
it is quite firm. I will say the sheath is sturdy. Is I think a good way to put it.
You see what I'm saying?
Right? It's sturdy. And now the cigar itself, to that point, sturdiness, the firmness, the uniformity of the firmness of the cigar, I really dig. Generally, when I pick up a cigar out of my humidor, if it feels like this, I know I'm gonna have a good smoke. And that's partially because I haven't screwed up the humidification of the cigar. But again, the other side of it is the quality of the tobacco, I think. And I've had so many of these that I'm excited to smoke it, so maybe I'm not the best. I'm a little jaded, if you will.
Hey, Matt, I have a question, or maybe we'll say this. So, Bear, if I'm going down a route that we shouldn't yet, but question for Matt: is this rolled into bar?
Yes.
I knew I had to be because I guess. Okay, thank you. That's all I got for now.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
This Connecticut shade wrapper is beautiful.
Mhm.
It's got that butterscotch quality to it almost, which I just love in a Connecticut shade wrapper.
Go deeper, Coop. Look at the sexual striations in the seams where the wrapper
Veins.
overlays.
Right.
Not the veins, the striations.
Striations.
As if they are the stretch marks on the neither meats of, I mean, whatever type of human you're interested in seeing those
You
meats.
gotta
I
give
don't
him-
judge.
You gotta give him credit.
The
He
heart
did say
knows what it wants.
He did say butterscotch, Matt. So I mean, you got to give him credit.
There
He
we
did
go.
go. He went.
Come on,
He
Matt.
went. He went pretty
There
deep
we
with
go.
that. Is
That's what I'm
anyone?
talking about.
I've got again. I agree with everyone's assessment so far. I do. I think it's a beautiful wrapper. Does anyone have any? I would still say that they're. I mean, they're not like from afar away. To me, it doesn't have anything. But when you pull it up close, there's obviously a lot of. For mine, there's a little bit of tooth to it, which I found a little bit rare in a Connecticut shade. I mean, it's not ugly. It doesn't like give off vibes of like a Connecticut broadleaf type of tooth. But does anyone have anything like that going on with their wrapper?
Yeah, I was gonna say that for a Connecticut, like this wrapper is substantial. A lot of times you get those Connecticut's where it's got like that paper thin,
Yeah,
super
That's
thin,
what I'm
super
talking
fragile
about.
looking wrapper. This one, I mean, to steal a word from Matt, this is a girthy wrapper.
It has
Like,
girth.
That is a
It has
thick,
girth.
heavy wrapper.
It's deluxe, man. We're not fucking around.
I mean, obviously, I mean, you're pointing it out in jest, but I mean, I think there was some intention behind that too, right?
It's not. I mean, look, I'm just being myself. It is girthy. It's a high. All these materials are high grade, man. It's a premium cigar through and through, from construction to the grade of materials, and quite frankly, to the blend composition, which all leads to its performance under combustion, man. It's a highly erotic cigar.
Now, with the you mentioned a little bit about the tobaccos in the tobaccos a second ago. So is with the undisclosed Mexican wrapper, I mean, one would assume that it might be San Andreas. I'm not trying to get you to tip your hand on everything that you're not willing to disclose. Oh, okay.
It is. Yeah.
So
and the fillers are all Nicaraguan from AJ's Farms.
Okay.
From Condega, from Jalapa, and from Esteli.
Nice. Wonderful. Okay. Well, guys, I say we go ahead and cut and light this bad boy up and give our first impressions, unless anyone has any additional thoughts real quick.
Well, I was going to ask, how is everybody cutting their cigars? We're talking straight cuts, V cuts, punch. What's your deal?
Personal preference. It's always personal preference.
Yeah, personal preference. I'm doing a straight cut.
I'm doing a straight cut with like our perfect cut. I'm using.
Yeah,
so.
I went with the very rare punch.
Oh, I would say
95%
of the time on this show, it's straight cut.
Yep.
Except if Surgeon's on, it's another story. He's always going to go V cut.
He's always to the V cut.
He's got to get that deep
Canadian,
V.
so I mean, it's got to be different, right? I mean, it is what it is.
Well, he is the surgeon. He is surgical.
He is.
So much to everyone's delight on this, I busted out the Chevy Chase Christmas Vacation cutter for everybody. So there you go.
Those are in demand.
Network.
Those are in demand. I'm hearing
just-
people People want those again.
I've got one for sale. You know, they can have it for free 99.
The prelude to like prelude to an Academy Award that'll probably come out his way for you, Bear.
Oh God.
I miss him. You know, the Mirage, they tore the Mirage down, Bear. We never really got to have that moment taking you through the Mirage where Chevy Chase ate breakfast with his family.
Well, you know, it's coming to the holiday season. If it's like last year, Bear, I'll pay for your plane ticket to come to Rockford. He's usually showing Christmas Vacation and going like scene by scene of what his thoughts were. So
Wow.
I'm sure front row for that.
I will help with that, by the way. I'll help make that happen.
No, it'll be my pleasure to fly Bear in for that. I'm gonna live stream it the whole time watching Bear's face.
Fantastic.
Well, last year he fell asleep when we live streamed. He fell asleep.
Hey, you know what? And I'm a man of honor though. I woke up and I watched the whole fucking thing again. Because I was like, you know what? I'm a man of my word, and I subjected myself alone to watching that bullshit. So I'm using my ST DuPont Fluo lighter.
I'm using mine as well.
Get a nice little. Anything did anyone do anything on the dry draw? Like I noticed a couple of, I mean, not terribly spicy, not terribly earthy. There wasn't like this really dominant note for me on the dry draw. But the dry draw is perfect though in terms of like that milkshake draw that we kind of talked about. For me, I don't know.
Well, that's why I asked Matt if his into bar, because I've smoked, like all of us have smoked a couple of these, and my draw has been absolutely perfect on all of them. So
you know, man, when we brought this blend back, we first debuted it at a trade show in Las Vegas, which is traditionally somewhat unkind to our products, the climate there, right?
And Connecticut shade in particular.
Yeah.
Right. So you're talking about something that you know stereotypically would be a little bit more on the delicate side, that would be more susceptible to, you know, becoming air sick from shipping and then being dry, you know. And I sampled everyone too, and the purpose was that they would take one home and give it the proper TLC in their humidor, but I wanted them to smoke it in Vegas under those conditions, man. And that cigar, I mean, they weren't hellaciously dry.
No, they weren't.
No, they weren't.
But they performed in that climate. You know what I mean? Like they're you know, and they definitely weren't. I mean, look, nothing is 100% on the trade show floor. It's just not, right? Impossible. But you know, they still perform. They perform under pressure, I guess is what I'm saying.
You know, we were at the Ford's booth last year, and you know, it was about free samples, right? You know, but Ford's is very generous with their samples, right? And we had gotten some of these, and some of us had smoked them, and some of us hadn't. And Bear was actually, I think, the first one to smoke this. He's like, guys, you got to smoke this cigar, is what he was telling us. He says it was ready to, like, it was, you know, because we've had issues with that too. A lot of times we'll put the cigars away for a few weeks, and it was ready to smoke. Because I remember you and I did that live stream. We interviewed you kind of after the trade show, and I smoked it that day for the first time, and it was absolutely the case.
I fucking love that blend, man.
Yeah,
I really do.
They did it, and it was good. I thought it was, you know, a good regular production release for your brand in general. It's a definite cigar for anybody. Well, like I said, we'll get into more of the details and the particulars of it as we get into it. But obviously, we've been high on this cigar, some of us. So
wonderful. Well, let's talk about some first impressions. Aaron, what aromas, first notes on the first couple of puffs? Why don't you kick us off here?
Yep. So for me, obviously I mentioned, I would say probably medium body, perfect draw as we talked about. I get a kind of dry woody cedar is part of my initial take. I also get a little bit of the cream, which I love. And then I would say it's not a black pepper, more like a white pepper. Depends if you retro too. So Matt talked about the retro. I think this is one of the cigars. It's not every cigar, as we all know. But this is one of the cigars that in my opinion, to get what it's truly, I think what Matt envisioned for me is to retro. Because I think the nuances of the cigar will come through when you retro it. So that's kind of what I get off this initial, I don't know, little bit, if you will.
I mean, you know, you have to make something that performs on the mouth, because that's, I believe, where the majority of the smokers keep the experience. Like, I think, it's the minority of smokers that retro. I'm not saying few people do it. I'm saying far less than the people that use uh, that strictly stick to mouth smoking. And the idea was to go down the middle. Like I love retro and I love sharp white spice through the retro, and that's what I needed in this cigar.
Amen, brother.
Nice. Trip, what about you? First impressions here.
I mean, kind of right what Aaron was saying. The like that kind of sweet cedar kind of flavor going on. Definitely medium bodied, a little bit of sweet, a little bit of wood, a little bit of spice. But then the retrohale is like what really brings it out for me. Like to me, this is very solidly like medium minus. The retrohale is not going to be for everybody. If like not for the faint of heart, I don't think, because it's pretty serious on that white pepper, which is right up my alley.
Got some
My
giddy up
man.
to it. All right. Coop, what about you? Like anything different than what we've been hearing so far, or is it pretty consistent across the board for you too? I know you talked a lot about a cream in your initial review of this on Cigar Coop.
Yeah, there was cream, and then the sweetness is almost like an extension of like a natural tobacco note, and to me it was a slight citric note, but it wasn't an acrid citric. It's a nice sweetness I'm getting off of it, not that astringent taste or anything like that. So it's very clean, and that's just imparting a nice amount of sweetness onto this for sure. I definitely would put the nicotine level in the cigar at mild to medium. It's not heavy, and the body of the cigar is like medium minus, like Tripp said. The flavors, it's I think it's the perfect levels for both of those with this particular smoke here. So, off to a really nice start here.
And
I
Coop,
feel fucking vindicated.
and Coop, I would
vindicated.
echo a little when you get when the retro, you do get a little bit of that citrus, like
Yes.
a grapefruit or something like that. I don't, which is like a sweet.
It's like a sweeter. It's not, sometimes I get that like the rind of the citrus, which is bitter. It's not
Pithy.
a bitter. It's not astringent. It's very clean, is what I'm going to say.
Dare I say pithy to a degree. And I think for me in the retro, I'm getting something akin to a nori. If you continue to talk about sushi, you get the seaweed on the outside, the sushi nori. There's the little bit of dryness to it, but there's that quality of the white pepper that Matt talked about that's really cool. It's definitely, to me at least, is kind of like a nori quality to it, which is cool.
A little salty.
A little bit, yeah. There's some minerality to it, which is really nice.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of the similar notes that you guys are talking about. I think the one particular note that stands out to me that y'all haven't mentioned yet, for me in my experience, is I'm very much getting like a very cereal like breadiness that kind of hits the palate for me. And it's almost like sweet cereal, not quite like Frosted Cheerios or anything like that. Not that ostentatious, but like just kind of like a sweet cereal kind of breadiness that it's kind of dominating the palate for me. There is some really nice creaminess too as well. So maybe that's where I got like cereal in my head a little bit with it. I do agree on the retrohale, which I typically try not to retrohale too soon in the smoking experience. That was something that Klaus Kellner taught me a few years ago. Just because I was very much like a retrohale from beginning to end. Like that was how I used to smoke, and Klaus taught me to like really kind of savor it on the palate and enjoy it before you start experimenting with other senses. But I have retroheadless, and I get a beautiful clean, like what Coop was saying, a very clean citrus note to it as well too. So so far a very enjoyable experience, consistent with other times that I've smoked this cigar. Matt, I wanted to ask you before we take a break here and do some fun content and for the edit, but Coop was talking about back in the day with the original Room 101 Connecticut that you did. It seems like to me like the branding of what you'd like to call affectionately Johnny P. Tobbaconaut, what we're smoking tonight.
Jonathan P. Yes.
Jonathan P. Tobbaconaut.
Yes.
The coloration reminds me of both the early Tobbaconaut series, but it also reminds me of that early Room 101 Connecticut. Was there any homage to the early 101 in Connecticut, or was it just it really was a throwback to the original Tobacconaut?
I mean, honestly, the genesis for all the this current branding was the original Tobacconaut, was a nod to that. But the original production Connecticut was still in line with the personality and the dynamics that I look for personally in a Connecticut blend, and the style of Connecticut that I want to put my brand on. I think Johnny Tobbaconaut and the journey of that brand through blend evolution is, it's what that blend would have been today. It's what it is today, right? Whether it be the original Connecticut or Johnny Tobbaconaut, right? That's kind of like the Room 101 signature Connecticut style.
Perfect. Well, we're going to take a quick break here, guys, and we're going to come back to our, if you're tuning in on YouTube, you'll catch the next third here in just a little bit. But for those of you tuning in live on Facebook, you're going to get the real content right here. So we'll take a break, and we'll be right back. Coop, you got it?
I got it. We're paused on mine.
Facebook gets it uncut and unshaven.
Yep.
Okay.
Facebook keeps going. And I think we'll probably put the full version of this out for everybody as well. So just because it is a special episode tonight, and so we'll have, and I know that it may take a while for Ben, who's our editor, to kind of get this chopped up too, because obviously he's dealing with much bigger challenges that he needs to attend to than anything we're doing tonight. So, and I know he would have been here if he could.
Yeah.
You guys ever considered getting a sponsor by like a brand of butter? I notice you guys are big on the sponsorships, but outside the box, like butter is endlessly dynamic, right? I'm thinking about this because I went through this whole grocery store conversation with a friend of mine prior to a pre-barbecue, and I insisted on the Kerrygold butter, salted. Actually,
cultured butter is fantastic. I'm on the same page with you.
So Matt, can I interject something on the Kerrygold?
Please.
Commercial that they're running has "I Want You to Want Me," my dad's probably famous song.
There you go.
As the theme. So royalties coming to my dad's way for Kerrygold. So you would think that maybe we could start some sort of barter system of like free butter versus like cash. But that really didn't happen.
Oh man.
Listen,
I think. Oh, go ahead.
I was the greatest butter commercial was Fabio. I can't believe it's not butter.
I mean,
Fabio was cool in that commercial.
Well, until you hit that fucking bird, right? The goose.
And they want him to sue, and Fabio wouldn't sue the amusement park. He said it's not the amusement park's fault. Bird hit me. And it's like, I give him credit on that.
I mean, the bird should have been suing him.
Yeah.
Dennis's approach, I can't believe it's not butter for sponsorship. How'd those first meetings go for you?
I'm desperate for sponsorship right now. And you know what? What's the brand baby oil? What's the Diddler's brand now?
Johnson and Johnson.
Johnson. Maybe baby oil can sponsor the show. That'd be great.
I think. I mean, it would seemingly appear that some people dip their cigars in it.
Johnson. That's a lot of corporate red tape.
So glossy.
You saw that post too, huh?
So glistening.
Wait, I have an idea.
Tell me.
A Justin Andrews trilogy collaborating with butter on a cigar.
Oh boy.
I mean,
Dennis, you see
I'm going to give you that one for free,
Justin. The diesel thing, right? I mean, they've done so many other things. Now they have to do butter, bro.
I'm telling you.
Man.
But there's so much branding conflicts. He's got to do the diesel, like what, Parquet. You can't do that. The diesel, I can't believe it's not butter.
You get Jennifer Garner, you get Fabio, and I don't know what the third one would be, but yeah.
Yeah,
Dennis seems like a KY guy versus oil, but maybe, whatever.
I'm all about the beef tallow, to be honest. I like it all natural.
Fair enough.
All right. Cool. Well, hey, let's get things started here. I like I said, I'm mixing in my segments to kind of segment some of these questions that we have in the middle and everything. So let's go ahead and kick things off with our everybody's favorite, guys. It's a presidential trivia segment brought to you by United Cigar, featuring La Giana Havana and distributors of Jose Dominguez, Bandolero, Garofalo, Firecracker, and the highly acclaimed Atabey, Byron, and Alfonso lines from Selected Tobacco. Smoke one today and start living united. So here we go, guys. This is actually a two-part question. So the first one is, what actually created FEMA? Executive Order 12127 or the Stafford Act?
Oh, shit.
Coop's probably going to be the only one that gets this.
Wait,
Wow.
what
That's a good
president?
question.
What president?
No.
No,
We're
he
gonna
said
get
what
to the
act?
we're gonna get to the president. What created FEMA? Executive Order 12127 or the Stafford Act? We're gonna get to the president here in a second.
I'm going to say Executive Order THX 1138.
Oh boy,
Isn't that what activated the killing of the Jedi? Or is that different?
No, that's Order 57.
Yeah, I don't.
I
Yeah, we
don't
don't
think it
fuck
was.
with that.
I don't think it was an executive order, was it? So the question was whether it's an executive order, Stafford Act.
or the Stafford Act. Yeah.
It was definitely the Stafford Act. I'm pretty sure it was the Stafford Act.
Aaron, you want to take a guess?
I mean,
Booth?
I'm just Stafford Act.
I refuse.
to Tripp's point, I would say Unit 731, but that's a different problem altogether.
Yeah. Well, in his jest, Tripp was actually right. It is executive order, but it is executive order 127. So
That's what I said.
yeah.
Close.
All right. So
thought
it
it
was
was
not
Stafford.
it was not the Stafford Act, believe it or not. So
Because I thought the Stafford Act happened late in Reagan's term,
mhm.
from what I
So-
remember.
So who created FEMA? Which president created FEMA? Was it Thomas Jefferson, Richard Nixon, Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan? Those are your choices.
Oh, I think I know this one.
Thomas Jefferson, Richard Nixon, Jimmy Carter, or Ronald Reagan?
I know this one. You want me to go first?
Yeah, hit it.
It's got to be Carter.
That's what I was going to say.
Carter?
That was my
But
guess.
it's just a guess.
I'm pretty sure it was Carter. Yeah.
I was like Carter. Since everyone's going with Carter, I'm gonna jump on the Carter train.
Let me ask you a question, Bear.
Yeah.
Is it just like many other things in life? Was this created to directly address like a current issue that occurred during that person's presidency, or did they just fuck around and fuck it, we can make some money this way too, or what happened?
Actually, it was.
Or maybe they don't think like that. I'm sorry.
No, actually, it wasn't. So, Executive Order 12127 established FEMA, but shortly after that, Executive Order 12148, the president gave the agency a dual mission of emergency management and civil defense. So that's the only thing.
But it wasn't inspired by something that had happened. Like it wasn't in
No, actually,
response to. Really?
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
no. Yeah, I mean, the first legislative act that we actually saw the first legislative act. Well, first of all, Eddie Gress is on the president. Everyone's saying Carter.
Yes.
Well,
Say
All right.
Carter.
All right, everybody's right. It was Jimmy Carter. So, but the first legislative act that in history was actually in 1803. It was during Jefferson's presidency. That's why I threw Jefferson in there. He actually there was a devastating fire that hit the Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which is like a major port in the early 1800s. And then destruction of the seaport, much of the city, and so like really would just destroy a lot of the commerce that for a relatively young country at the time. And so in 1803, Congress provided relief to the affected merchants of Portsmouth by suspending bond payments and debts and things like that.
So I don't know if you guys know Bear knows this person. I don't know if Matt knows, but the late Scott Cunius, who was in the cigar industry for a while, worked retail. He worked for FEMA, and he was always a guy called up when there was an emergency. He'd be one of those guys who would be kind of like the National Guard getting called. He was kind of like FEMA getting called on it. So I've had a lot of discussions with him on FEMA, and that's why I was pretty sure he told me the history of FEMA one day. I remember FEMA always existed, like you said, but it was under other agencies. He said FEMA didn't come until like the late 70s is what he was telling me. But apparently it used to be under other agencies beforehand. It's not like they never had anything before, but they never had a dedicated agency for it.
Good stuff. Well, that was our United Presidential Trivia segment brought to you by United Cigars. Smoke one today and start living United. But speaking of FEMA, guys, I mean, the real focus, the real reason why we're meeting tonight and why Matt was so gracious to jump on with some of his precious time and everything was, of course, what's going on right now in Western North Carolina. Our good friend, Mr. Ben Lee, is, member of the Asheville community, as are some of our friends in the tobacco industry. And they're absolutely, their community is absolutely destroyed. And I mean, in some cases, some surrounding communities literally are destroyed. So, Coop, want to give you a shout out. Shout out to your wonderful wife who found this organization that we're featuring tonight. Tell us a little bit about Operation Airdrop.
Operation Airdrop is something I learned about before actually after the storm hit. My wife had done some research, but what they do is they are responsible for basically mobilizing and providing critical assistance in response to disasters. So they deliver supplies, hot meals, supports to communities affected by the storm. So they collect things to obviously help get these these things that they need, but there's also monies that they need to make all of this happen as well. So it is from what I understand a nonprofit, and so it's not just a matter of I know a lot of people are donating like canned food and stuff like that, but they also need help in getting this stuff into there as well. So that's what Operation Airdrop has been doing.
Very cool.
That's awesome. So I'm actually posting the link here in the chat. So you can go to operation-airdrop.com, and there's actually a link for Hurricane Helene support, but there is a donate button in the right hand corner as well. So that's a great spot to check out what you can learn more about this organization and get supplies to a lot of it. We actually got some pictures sent to us from Ben earlier today. Of actually some, I don't know if it was Operation Airdrop specifically, but there were some supplies being dropped off at the local middle school via helicopter. So that was pretty
by helicopter, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Bear, one thing about the donations that I really like what they did. So you have an option of checking a box whether you want to cover the transaction cost, because obviously there's a cost when this donation happens on the back end. I'd encourage everyone to cover the transaction cost, but if that's your choice not to cover it, you can uncheck the box with that. So that's something I thought was very transparent what they did as well.
Absolutely. I think it's really cool that nonprofits do that too, because that is a burden that a lot of times they eat in most cases.
They do, and it's expensive sometimes. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Well, it adds up, man.
But sometimes you get, I've done things where I see this fee on there. I'm like, well, wait a minute, I donated $75 and I'm being charged $84. So like I said, it's very transparent what that fee is going to be, and they put it out there, and it does. The more you do it, that fee goes higher, and I guess that's just the back end they're using. So, you guys definitely, like I said, when you do the donate, just want folks to be aware of that. I thought it was a good thing to do, and you could do one time or recurring, however you want to do it.
I thought this would be an interesting question to ask tonight. So Matt, you served in the United States Marine Corps for a number of years, and
I did.
The military is obviously known, for defense and enforcing, and that's a lot of it. But there's a lot of humanitarian things that the military does. So I just wanted to ask you if there was a humanitarian effort that you were a part of while you were in the service that you remember fondly, or maybe not so fondly, but it was something that kind of came to mind, as we kind of reflect on humanitarian efforts tonight.
While I was in the infantry from 96 to 2000, and there was not anything like that I participated in, but we were in 29 Palms in the desert. And I believe at the time, it may be different now, but I know that the guys from the East Coast were sent traditionally for things of that nature. And I know just knowing what Marines are like, especially infantry guys and now gals too, right? Don't forget. And I think that it's something that they would be completely vested in, heart and soul, right? So no better friend, no worse enemy, right? So I think that for me, we never experienced anything like that, but I know that probably no better force to go do that.
Nonprofits have been something that you've been involved with. Almost from the very beginning of your entry into the cigar industry. Early on, I remember you partnered with Operation the Wounded Warrior
with
project.
with the Wounded
Yeah.
Warrior project. Yeah, that was out of
And-
the gate.
yeah.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
obviously the latest reedition of Namakubi also was tied into a charitable aspect as well too. Have there been other projects
That's
that you've
correct.
tied to different charities as well? That maybe we weren't so aware of, that weren't so public, or
No, those two are the ones that we've actively engaged over the years. Not to say that we wouldn't support others in the future. But those two are the one. Keep Memory Alive was the second one, by the way.
It's a
Right,
great
yes.
charity.
Yeah,
It's a
great
great
charity.
charity.
We featured that on a couple of episodes actually here on
Yeah.
ELOSOFUMAR Takes. So that was it's a great organization. Check that one out as well too. Are you still involved with it, Matt?
I'm working. It's not solidified yet, but I am working to reintroduce that as something that could potentially be tethered to Namakubi consistently. We haven't solidified the details, but my hope is to do so.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a charity run by a guy named Larry Ruvo, who is a very philanthropic guy. I think he started a liquor chain out in Nevada, and he's known for his philanthropy. Really good project.
Right. How's everyone on their smoking? Is everyone almost through the first third?
We're always lagging, so don't go by me.
Did you mean almost done? I feel like I'm almost done with mine.
Coop savers like
Yeah.
a motherfucker.
Well, I know Aaron's probably on to second Toro by now, but yeah, just see. Is everyone through the first third?
Yes.
Let me know. Let me know when I should restart.
Yes, sir.
All right. Here, okay, we're gonna take about a 5-second pause here. Coop's gonna restart the recording just so we can do it. So here we go, starting now.
Okay.
And we're back with the roundtable number 16, smoking the Johnny Tobbaconaut from Room 101 Cigars, the Toro size. I'm here with Will Cooper, Trip Waldrop, Dennis Fang, Aaron Nielsen, and none other than Matt Booth himself. We're going through this panel tonight. So, Aaron, I know I kicked things off with you on the first part of the cigar, but I want to come back to you as well. What was that first third smoking experience like for you?
Yeah, it was great. As I've kind of hit on the first part, it was the creamy, kind of the white pepper through the retro, so some sweetness. The burn, I had to tap the ash, but I mean, it was stacking dimes for, a good quarter of an inch or whatever it may be. One of the things, you joked about me, I am a fast smoker. And one of the things that I did when I was asking Matt about being rolled into bar, I had to be very careful with this cigar, as I've had many, not to smoke it too quickly, because the draw is I would say on the looser side. So it's not like you're having to really work at it. If I'm not careful, I can smoke this thing pretty quick, and so it's burning great. But for those that smoke quickly and with this kind of looser-ish draw, take your time with it, because you may be smoking a Toro in about 30 minutes. So so far so good. Love the cigar, and very enjoyable thus far.
Awesome. Any flavor notes pretty consistent with your first impressions, or anything different?
I can tell, yeah. So first third, I can tell as it's going along here. I think I would say the white pepper might be shifting a little bit more towards the black pepperish note, and then I would say there's a little bit of caramel coming, like a caramel note. Like the creaminess is there, but the sweetness is morphing a little bit to more of like a caramel type sweetness. But other than that, it's remained pretty consistent, still medium bodied, putting off good smoke, burning great.
Awesome. Coop, what about you?
Yeah, I agree a lot with what Aaron said. The draw. Well, here's how I describe the draw. It's not a loose. I didn't think it was loose, Aaron, but I thought it was what I call open. So,
Open,
but yeah, you're right. Like I said, I think it's good for a novice will really appreciate that as well. Some of us like to work the draw a little more, but that's like I said, that's not hearsay. We can. It's controllable. It's fine. There's no negatives on that. The burn is outstanding on this thing too. I've really touched this up, not at all to go out there. I get these a nice, I use this term natural tobacco flavor. I get, and it's kind of a catch-all because I'm getting some of that sweetness that Aaron talked about, and then it's balanced by a little bit of bitterness. But that's not a bad thing, as we've talked about. Sometimes when you balance a little bitterness with that, it makes for a better flavor a lot of times. So I'm getting some of that as well. I also agree with you, Aaron. The white pepper is kind of transitioning to a black pepper for sure on that. So I do agree with you on that as well.
Matt, as you've smoked many of these and going through the blending experience, was there anything that you were looking for from those when you were, wanting to go from like first to, the first third to the second third? Any transitions that you were looking for throughout the smoking experience that you wanted to experience consistently through the cigar?
Yeah. I mean, I had a very specific vision for this blend and the way that it was to perform and the experience for the smoker was going to be, right? And when I sat down with AJ, this was kind of in the new beginnings of what was to become the new lifespan of Room 101, and I needed to check the boxes on, several different experiences that I felt at the time were missing from our product offering, because my goal has always been to create a very well-rounded collection of experiences, but each individual experience to be well-rounded within itself, right? And so I sat down with him, and he's a phenomenal, I mean, one of the greatest, right? I fucking love that dude, man. I really do. And I sat down with him and he said, what do you need a Connecticut? I said, yeah, I need a Connecticut, and he said, what are you looking for? And I said, I need the Davidoff Anniversary #3 with testicles. And I want it to perform this way. I need the cream, I need the balance, and I need the sophistication, but I need it to be rock star in the nose. And I need it to have presence. I need it to have a command presence on the palate without being overbearing in any dimension of its personality that it offers, right? Like you guys have called out several of these signature character traits for this blend. As you're burning, as it's combusting, and it's giving you this experience. Not one time have I heard that there's some sort of overbearing component. It's got power and potency, but it's balanced and sophisticated, and that's what I wanted. And that's what I believe you have in your pretty little mouths right now.
This brings about a good question for you, Matt, before we get to Trip and Dennis on their thoughts here. But
you ask it.
You've consistently over the years, every iteration of Room 101, every iteration of these particular blends have specifically gone after a dynamic of tobaccos where you really don't have like a specific wheelhouse that you're in. It's not like you're really attached to Ecuadorian Habano, or you're really attached to this particular tobacco in Nicaragua. In fact, you've manufactured cigars out of all three major non-Cuban cigar manufacturing countries. So I mean that's challenging, and that's challenging its own. But I mean, what's specific about the variety really has allowed to your blending style? Is it just how your palate works? It's just you're always looking for the right combination as opposed to a specific signature, or what? Because it just doesn't seem like you really favor any particular tobacco like some of your colleagues do.
I mean, I have my personal favorites, right? But I'm also in the cigar business, right? And I know that it's or at least I feel that it's my responsibility to offer as comprehensive of a collection of experiences as I can under my mark, and so, and I'm glad you brought up, the multiple country manufacturing philosophy that we have. I believe wholeheartedly that not only, do you need to modify by, blend composition to provide different experiences, you also need to cook in different kitchens, because you could give one of these blend formulas or another to a different manufacturer, and they could procure the materials from the exact same source, and put them together with the exact same blend mixture, and it would simply taste different because it would have their touch to it too. And part of it is their own personal magic. And like they say, different cook, different kitchen, different flavor, so my vision for our brand is that it will be a collection of experiences, you know. If it was the same cigar with a bunch of different bands on it, it's a very monotone experience, you know. And I'm looking for I mean, obviously I want people to find, everyone's going to kind of find their favorites throughout our collection, because it's all based on personal preference and your own personal tastes and whatnot. But if someone parks their car in the Room 101 lot, they're going to find that every little space has a different, has a different flavor, and that they can explore freely. I think that the only universal theme that I want people to understand is relevant across all of our blends is the quality, right? Quality of materials, quality of composition and construction. And after that, it's about, having a vast variety of experiences.
Well said. Drip, how was the first third experience for you?
Very good. I'm noticing that that citrus that Coop talked about has been slowly working its way into the palate. The retrohale, kind of like Aaron talked about, like it's calmed down maybe a little bit, but it's gotten more complex. Like there's more layers to that spice on the retrohale than there was before.
I agree with you on that, Trip, for sure. The retrohale is several layers is a good word.
Yeah, it's hard to describe because it's not more intense. It's not
like one
spicier,
flavor, and it's not like one note.
but there's more going on there.
Yeah.
Mostly stayed pretty similar. Kind of the ramping up of the sweetness and the citrus and that little bit of bitterness came in like Coop talked about. And then really for me, the evolution of the retrohale.
Okay. Dennis, I'm picking up some notes here. I'm hoping you in particular are picking it up too, but that's the only hint I'll give. So anything special about this first third experience that you're getting?
Yeah, man. So that nori thing that I mentioned earlier, I really loved that papery crispness and in the beginning of the cigar. I love that the minerality that came out akin to nori. I'm very careful not to say umami because it's a very specific kind of profile. It's not the umami that comes out of it. It's the minerality. And now that I've smoked through, well, actually, I've spoken a little fast. I'm
Jesus Christ.
Close to finishing now. To Aaron's point, it's an very open draw. It's very easy to kind of forget yourself and run through the cigar because it tastes great and you kind of want to puff on it. You want to taste and experience it. And what I'm noticing now is that nori is becoming more intense. It's stickier on the palate. I love the stickiness. It's the same. It's akin to like if you have an onigiri and you have the seaweed on the outside that sort of starts to get a little wet and sticky in your palate when you eat it. It's like that for me. And maybe today's, Japanese themed day for me. Maybe that's why my palate tuned to it. But I love that. I love that quality to it. I've been really enjoying it. Much of the similar flavors, caramel, I think it was Aaron that mentioned the caramel quality. It's really cool. That's now more pronounced for me. And also, again, I suspect because he and I love to smoke a little faster, just by nature of the way, when we sit down and smoke a cigar, we kind of run through it a little quick. But yeah, man, very exciting. And the nori thing maybe is it's gonna be my sticking point for the cigar, and it has been for the last 6 of these that I've had.
I'm getting some of that minerality that you're talking about too, Dennis. But for me, that creaminess that's still like a resounding prominence on my palate too has kind of morphed into a very lactose, kind of a milky kind of creaminess. So that's why I thought you might pick it up too. So to me, kind
milky.
of there's a little bit of a kind of a again a more milkiness, sweetness to that creaminess for me. Not quite sweet cream, but not quite like vanilla or vanilla ice cream or anything like that. Just kind of milky. The minerality on the retrohale for me is really good, and the construction, like everybody else is talking about, is pretty outstanding. Again, I'm having to set this down so I don't puff on it too fast, or one of these days, Coop's gonna have to give a clinic on how to smoke a cigar slowly, so we can all try to figure that out.
It's like a creamsicle I'm getting. in a lot of ways. There's creaminess and that citrus sweetness coming in there. It's almost like a little bit of a creamsicle you're getting.
Would you say that it's akin to an Orange Julius experience?
Oh boy,
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, if we're going deep here,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
that's a deep cut.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's as creamsicle as it gets.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, that's the bedrock of creamsicle.
There you go. We could have Justin do creamsicle, toasted almond, and strawberry shortcake trilogy.
Or call it the mall edition and have it like Orange Julius and the Sbarro pizza.
Oh
You know?
yeah. Don't forget hot dog on a stick.
Yeah, yes, and hot
Oh,
dog
yeah.
on a stick. Yeah.
The
Well,
undulation of the
And
churning.
the smell of Aunt Annie's pretzels.
Oh, see, I can see Dojo doing the corn
I
dog
can't-
cigar.
I can't do
I'm
that.
I'm waiting for Dojo to do the corn dog cigar.
They might.
Yeah,
They
can.
might.
I predict.
What
he
is
will
it that they're churning? Is it the dough? Is it the dough mixture or is it their lemonade? What are they pounding back there?
It's
I
With
thought it was
such
a lemonade.
fervor.
I thought it was the lemonade.
It's a
Isn't it?
lemonade,
do.
right?
It's the lemonade. Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, the lemonade's fantastic. I don't even care about the corn dogs as much as the lemonade and hot dog on a stick. And I always have to have a slice of Sbarro pizza. I don't know why. I just do.
You gotta with the dough. What the trick is, you gotta let it over ferment just a little bit, so it gets that funk to it. That's I think the secret in a lot of pizzas, a lot of doughs, a lot of different things. I suspect that's what it is.
I don't know.
The secret
I
is
just-
the funk.
It's the funk. It's always
Yep.
the funk.
Secret
funk.
power.
Secret.
always
funk-
the funk.
All right. Well,
Funkadelic.
we'll be back with our second, third impressions here in just a few moments. So be sure to stick around and check it out.
We'll pause.
All right. So
You guys are a well-oiled machine here, man.
We yeah.
We've
We
done it
got-
once or twice.
we've done it.
Yeah.
This is our 16th time. So yeah, we've done it 15 times. So
In the words of New York Coop, we are paused.
There you
We
go.
take a pause.
There you go.
And you get a coffee, we're gonna pause it a little bit, it'll be fine.
Yep.
all right. So Matt, I know you're short on time here. I'm particularly fond of you joining this next segment, but then after that, do you think
I'm hanging out.
you're hanging out for a little
I'm
bit
hanging
longer?
out for a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I thought we were gonna get time to shit on the cigar at the end.
So
No, you can. I just whenever I dip out, you can begin to shit. You allow the shitting to begin. Yeah.
well, this next segment is brought to you by Artista Cigars, which is truly the last hidden gem of the Dominican Republic. With nearly 70 years of rolling cigars, the family behind Artista believe in honoring their long-held traditions of handmade artistry. Artista's blends include factory-exclusive tobaccos and front marks for every single budget. In fact, Artista Cigars has one of the most varied portfolios on the market today. There's something for everyone at Artista. Now, if you're like me and never can really pick on or decide on much, Artista Cigars is actually a really breath of fresh air for me because I can actually take something from any of box of Artista and they have something to offer and I know it's going to be something truly special. So this segment is all about this or that, gentlemen. It's a rapid fire. And so I'm giving you a choice of two things. And there we have a theme tonight. Unfortunately, I thought I'd make a little light of it without being terribly insensitive. But we are thinking about this in terms of disaster preparation. So so I'm going to give you two things. You got to pick one. And can you only pick one? And so Dennis, we're going to kick things off with you if you're ready, sir.
Or
Toilet paper or wipes?
what now?
Toilet paper or sanitation wipes? Which one do you got to have in a disaster?
I mean, I would argue neither because anything is toilet paper in this world if you try hard enough.
If you want it to be.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
okay. Realistically speaking, fine. If we're talking about longevity and all this stuff, shit tickets are gonna get soggy, and shit tickets being toilet paper. Shit tickets are gonna get soggy. Wipes, multifaceted. You can use them for a lot of different things, not just for wiping your nether regions. You can wipe other things that like kind of pre-moistened, which is helpful. I'd say, yeah, I go with wipes.
With wipes?
Yeah.
All right. Coop.
Toilet paper.
OG.
That was very quick.
Yeah, I don't disagree
got
with what you're
loaded
saying,
in
but
pipe.
in the end, I think toilet paper is the thing I want hitting my butt. So
Booth, you got to follow that. Which one?
Quote unquote. Quote unquote. Coop. Which I question that. Coop said it's the only thing that he wants in his butt. I have so many questions. I have so many questions. I'm going with the
rapid
OG.
fire.
It's paper all day, bro.
Toilet paper. Okay.
Paper
Okay.
all day.
Not a fan of moisture either. Matt Booth.
Keep
so
your powder
there's-
dry. Keep your paper dry.
There you go.
Mhm.
Aaron, what about you?
I'm gonna have to go with Dennis. The multifaceted approach of wipes. I mean, you can dry them out. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it depends if we're just, I mean, yeah. Do I want a wet ass? Not necessarily, but I've had worse. So yeah, I'll go with the wipes. Plus, I got kids. I had kids back in the day. Had a wipe, and the circle of life. My kids are probably gonna have to wipe my ass in the future, so might as well, we'll go with the wet ones.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I've had to. Yeah, I was gonna say I've changed enough diapers. I'm not a fan. I'll. Everyone else is kind of dancing around it. I don't like wipes on my butt. I think it's a weird, terrible feeling. But if I had to choose, I agree with the multifaceted argument that I'd rather have that and suffer through the discomfort of wetness on my rear end. So, but Trip, what about you?
Wipes all day, dog.
Wipes, gotta keep it clean, sanitized.
It's the manual bidet.
There you go.
Wipes.
I mean, I think you just put your ass in the sink, use some soap,
Yeah, that's a good move.
get it clean.
Anything in a pinch.
Good move.
Well, that's if you have a sink that's working with
Sorry,
running water,
anything
right? This is
after,
yeah. So, all right. All right. So this is for food preparation. Charcoal or propane? Coop.
Spicy. I like
Charcoal.
Charcoal.
Yeah, propane is a I get propane. My wife's not a big fan of having propane around the house, actually. It kind of just, she gets nervous with it, but I'm fine with charcoal. It does the job. Just have lighter fluid with it.
Is there a concern though about it keeping it dry though in terms of a disaster prep? You know?
I mean, you could go with, I think whenever it is like wet storms, we have like large bags that we'll put things in that we have to make sure stay dry. So I'm not worried about that. Particularly when I was living in New Jersey, I had a basement. We did a lot of that sometimes in case the basement would flood. We make sure things are in plastic bags sealed really good. So I don't have a concern with that.
Okay. Aaron?
Well, I mean, if we're in the disaster theme, I mean, clearly, propane out of ease of use. I mean, charcoal, fuck. I mean, you're sitting out there in the hurricane getting wet. Now, what I'll say is though, I mean, flavor, I mean, if we're just going pure like grilling, I'm a big griller. I mean, you can't beat the flavor of a charcoal grill, but I mean, ease of use and I don't have a lot of time to prep the grill and all that kind of stuff. So of the two, I got to go propane.
Dennis?
Man, I am charcoal hardcore all the way. For food, for other stuff, you have charcoal for cooking, for heat and everything else. Now you can use charcoal for filtration in a survival setting, which is pretty handy. Burnt charcoal, right? And then you can also use it for other things like skin care. If you're in the bush and you have some charcoal and you need to get clean, theoretically, a little fat and a little charcoal will go a long way to make some kind of rudimentary soap. So,
and Dennis, if you get alcohol poisoning, you can just down some charcoal and absorb
Pump
all
your
that.
stomach.
I was gonna say, there you go.
Well,
Activated charcoal
Well,
tablets.
There you go, charcoal.
all for charcoal.
When the FEMA agents are pulling Dennis over for being intoxicated, be like, nope, he's got the charcoal. He's good. All right.
Little down some Kingsford and you're good to go.
That's right, man.
All right, Trip, you.
It's actually kind of a tough decision. Charcoal for all the reasons Dennis said, but propane because in a survival situation, I may have to cook indoors.
Whoa.
And propane will work for that in a pinch. Charcoal will not.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Fair.
I agree with that. I hate to say it,
Right?
but I agree.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm charcoal for every other reason in any other scenario, but I would want propane in the middle of a disaster. So, Matt, sounds like you agree with that too.
Same.
I should go get some propane tomorrow.
All right. All right. Yeah. Put it on the pickup order for sure. All right. Pocket knife or flashlight. Now, these are two key things that a lot of survivalists will say that you always have to have both. But now I'm giving you the choice of one or the other: pocket knife or
Why
flashlight.
would you do this, man?
Yeah, that's
Just
You need
do-
both.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it makes this hard. So
Fuck. Are there any other sharp objects that come later that could
that's an open-ended
could
question,
fill
Matt. You could fill it out. So, I mean, all right, Dennis.
no machetes coming up later? Nothing?
I'm going pocket knife. That's my. You can do so much with a pocket knife versus a flashlight. You cannot prepare wood. You cannot build a snare with a fly. I mean, you could technically with flashlight. That's advanced booby trapping. We're not going to get into that, but yeah, man, knife is going to be my go-to. You get a Flintstone, you can get your fire if you need fire. Flashlight is kind of it's one-sided to a degree. You can maybe bash something over the head if it's big enough, sure, but the battery's going to run out potentially, right? And you can't do a whole lot with it. You could signal, to be fair. You could signal with the lens if you break it out. You could do some signaling if you're lost in the woods, you want to get rescued. But you should have it. Realistically, you should have a signaling mechanism outside of a flashlight. That should not be your last resort. It can be if it need be, but it shouldn't be. I think Matt will back me up on this.
I would go knife all day.
Knife.
And I would use Coop's Lily White cakes to signal. Cake and eat it too, right there.
Oh, it's the
Coop's
forbidden
cake, by the way.
It's the forbidden cake. You can't touch it.
Aaron, what would you pick?
You know they ain't tan, bro. Come on.
Yeah, so I'm glad I didn't go first on this one because my first reaction was flashlight. Because I mean, what's the point? You can't see shit, right? So I might as well be able to see what's going to eat me or kill me. But I'm going to go with the knife, multifaceted. You got to protect yourself. Flashlight, all you're really doing is seeing how fucked you are versus nothing to defend yourself. So I'll go
exactly.
I'll go pocket knife.
See, I've just seen this part of Jurassic Park, man. The flashlight just brings the T-Rex over and you're fucked.
Right.
So, pocket knife, at least you have a fighting chance, So I'm definitely a pocket knife person. Who hasn't gone yet? Coop?
I haven't.
I haven't, but I say knife.
Yeah.
I say flashlight because in my opinion, I agree with what you're saying, except we're talking pocket knife, not a knife here. So if it was a regular knife, I would say yes, a regular knife. A pocket knife ain't gonna do much for me. I gotta be able to see what the hell I'm doing in an emergency situation at night. You don't know what's gonna be happening. I gotta be able to see something.
Coop wants to be strapped like Crocodile Dundee. That's what he's saying.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. But if that's a knife, Crocodile Dundee, then it's a different story. But we're talking pocket knife here. We're not talking a knife.
You can do a whole lot with a pocket knife, man. I got this little guy. This little guy gets me through so much shit.
But Coop makes a good point. Size does matter. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, if we're talking Swiss Army knife, well, I mean, still, it's pretty useful.
Still handy.
Yeah.
Yeah, not Swiss Army knife. This is pocket knife specific.
And,
So something along the lines of what you had.
I'd probably cut my finger off trying to open it without a flashlight on a knife like that. So I'm going to stick with flashlight. I'm sticking with flashlight on this one. Yeah. I'm going to stick with flashlight on this one.
All right. Well, Coop, back to you on this one. Next one. Okay. Rope or matches?
Oh,
Ooh. Matches. Ultimately, you're going to need the fire. You may need to, whether it's for heat, to cook something. I'd say, rope. I think you can. I don't know. I mean, I see more use cases for having the matches than the rope.
do you get the waterproof little canister from the Army surplus store with the matches in it, or are they just naked?
Those
in a
blue tip
box?
matches.
Well, again, those are things that we keep in in an emergency situation. Yeah, I make sure they're in a sealed container in case I need them. So yeah, but you don't want like a book of like cigarette matches. I'm talking like wood stick matches. Yeah,
like legit matches.
Like legit matches. Yeah, not those like the J. Davis Blue Smoke of Dallas matches work good. That's what I'm telling you.
There we go.
But the ones with the little matchbook type thing, useless. Yeah.
Aaron?
Oh, matches. I mean, fire cures a lot of what ills. So I'll start a fire. I can cook my meat. I can signal for help.
Yep.
I can do a lot with some fire. I can't do a whole lot with rope other than
Can light a Johnny Tobbaconaut, you know?
yeah. I can have a
Right.
star in the perilous situation in the forest. I can light up my Johnny Tobacco and enjoy my time being lost. So yeah, fire matches for sure.
Nice. Trip, you going matches too?
Oh yeah, matches. I can cook my meat. I can self-immolate if things aren't going great. Uh, like it's just
Did you say
so much
self
more useful.
manipulate?
Self-immolate. It's
Oh,
where
I'm sorry.
you
By hearing.
go away
Bust.
if things aren't going so well.
Am I the only one that's down on the rope, man? Like, okay, number one, Boondock Saints. You always need rope. Comes in handy.
I knew that was coming.
Number two, 550 paracord. You got multiple strands. If you're lucky, you got the 8 strand. You can do a whole lot with them. You can do fishing. You can do snares. You can do. You can hang yourself if you really wanted to. You make a garrote out of it. Then
dark.
again,
David Carradine over here.
Fair enough. Maybe either of them will work for me.
let's not
Jesus.
forget the beauty of something like a nylon rope with enough heat. You could start a fire theoretically. If you know what you're doing, you could start a fire. So I think rope, man, for me, it matches. They could work, they might not work, but they only have one purpose. A rope, again, multifaceted. It's the theme of
Multi-purpose.
you can do a whole lot with rope, man. I'd cook you a brisket with rope. Just saying.
Hanging over
I'd
the
like to
fire.
You know,
see
when
that.
I was fully matched up until you brought up the erotic
The autoerotic asphyxiation. Well, I thought you would enjoy that. It takes one to know one.
I'm just saying, we're just having a conversation here.
I was thinking Boondock Saints too, man. I was going the rope. Actually,
Hell
'cause
yeah.
I got the pocket knife. I can start a fire
Hell yeah.
with
That's
a
right.
flint. Use it as a flint. So, all right. And I got enough cigar boxes, much to manufacturer's chagrin. I could burn those up, so we're good. All right. I'm really anxious to hear from Coop and Aaron on this next one because I'm tent or a sleeping bag.
Oh,
Mm.
I'll go tent. What the fuck? I mean, okay, sleeping bag. All right, so I'm warm, but you know what? I'm gonna get wetter than shit. And so I can hide in there? No. Give me a tent. I can navigate around. I can grab. So I'm gonna be Johnny handy person over here like Dennis and all this multifaceted. I can grab straw. I can grab shit to insulate myself inside a dry tent. If I'm wet in a sleeping bag, all that thing is doing is keep me warm. I've got my matches, I've got my knife, and now I'm content in my tent.
You're
I'm
housed.
I'm housed. Shelter. Shelter is one of like the key things, right? When you're in the survivalist forest, like sleeping bag, you're a sitting duck. Now, I guess you could argue the fact that you could open up the sleeping bag and make a tent out of it, and Dennis has probably got 50 different uses of a sleeping bag, but I'm going to go tent for right now.
Tent. All right, Coop.
Yeah, both suck sleeping on it sucks sleeping on the ground, right? So a sleeping bag or a tent, it's gonna both suck. So it will suck less if I'm dry and I don't have bugs hitting me. So I'm gonna go with the tent.
Yes. Dennis is going last. I'm going with the tent too. I want the shelter. Trip.
I'm going with the tent because if you said a tent or a tarp and a sleeping bag, I'd say that because like the hardest part of making a tent is keeping water from getting from up here to down here. Like if you have a tarp, you can solve that problem, but with just the sleeping bag, you've got a whole other pile of problems.
Dennis.
There's a lot to unpack here, fully pun intended. There's a lot to unpack when you talk about a tent versus sleeping bag. In my opinion, you can take apart a sleeping bag and use it for different things. You can use it for tinder if you need it to create a fire. You can use it as like a wrap if you needed some insulation in the cold, and then build a lean-to or something else out of local material. But I say tent. I'm going to go with tent specifically because of the framing. Assuming we're talking about framed tents, right? Was that what the?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Frame tent. You can use that to build traps for animals. You can use it for different material to build other things. You can pull it apart, and I think you can do like if you need to do a wrap with insulation, you can do that as well. So tent, but not in the traditional sense where I'm going to lay in a tent. I'm going to take apart that tent and use it for other things. I have more material to go with.
Sounds good.
MacGyver over here. Yeah.
Animal.
Yeah.
Matt,
MacGyver.
you win.
Animal.
Matt, you win 10 or a sleeping
I'm
bag.
on tent too, bro.
Okay.
I'm
10.
just 10.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So second to last question here: salt and pepper or Tabasco? You can have one or the other: salt and pepper or Tabasco. I'm gonna go first. And listen, I love hot sauce as much as the next person, but I have to have salt and pepper. Like I'm not eating bland food, so. And I understand Tabasco can flavor it, but that's salt and pepper all day for me. So probably the unpopular.
I'm
pick.
with you, Bear.
Yeah, you got salt and pepper too, Matt.
I elect to select the salt and
But
pepper.
but you're not like a hot sauce fan though, right? Because like you don't like buffalo wings,
I had an incident.
right? Which we don't
Had an
talk about. Yeah,
incident
I was
on
just saying you
buffalo
don't
sauce.
like it. I didn't want to bring
Yeah.
it up. Yeah. Okay, got it. All right. So, Coop, salt and pepper
Yeah.
or Tabasco?
I'm not a big fan of Tabasco, so it's salt and pepper.
Aaron?
Yep. Yeah, I love Tabasco, but pretty one-dimensional. You can do a little bit more with salt and pepper. So, it's kind of like Matt's beard a little bit there. It's a little salt and pepper, so we'll go with
I'm surprised.
Thanks
I'm
for
surprised
noticing,
by
bro.
that's all
Welcome.
popular. Here we go. This is crazy. I thought more people would pick Tabasco. Trip?
I mean, I'm surprised you picked Tabasco for the hot sauce. Tabasco is like the worst hot sauce. I have 150 bottles of hot sauce, and I don't have a
All right.
single
Well, go
bottle of
ahead.
Tabasco.
Okay. Well, insert your favorite hot sauce. Let's go with that. Insert
Either
your
way, I'm
favorite-
still going salt and pepper.
Wow. Look at that breakdown. All right. Let me bring you back to something little known thing called the Cold War. All right. Tabasco.
Let's go.
Now, hear me out. Hear me out for a second now. The US and the Soviets came to the same conclusion independently of one another when they were working on dead drops, and they were putting dead drops into dead things like rodents and rats and stuff, right? They put the dead drop in there, drop a rat in an alleyway. Feral cats were taking away these dead drops, and so the US were like, well, it's a problem, right? We got to figure this out. They took Tabasco and they would soak these dead rats in Tabasco, and the cats would not touch it. The Soviets figured this out independently around the same time, about 6 or 8 months from the US. My thing is Tabasco, because in a survival situation, if I've killed something, I've caught it, I'm not going to eat the whole thing. I want to save some. If I cover it in Tabasco, it's unlikely to be taken away by a wild animal looking for food. It's not going to touch
That's
it.
a good point. I didn't think of that.
Cougar.
But wait a minute, Dennis. But if you have enough salt, can't you pack it in salt and like dry it out and it's cured?
Well,
Bear will still eat it.
You need so much salt to do a proper cure that in the field it's unrealistic.
Well, we didn't have any limitations on the quantity of our said
That's
condiment.
fair. You're right. Absolutely right. Absolutely.
That's
Well,
true.
Bear,
You have a truck of salt.
You want
Yeah,
to?
salt
I mean,
truck.
he wants to soak his food in Tabasco, so apparently there's plenty to go around. So,
keep it
all right,
spicy.
all right. So here's the last question. I'm going to combine these two for the sake of time because we need to tackle the second third of the cigar here. We're talking about cigars, survival situation. Would you rather have 5 Churchills or 10 Robustos, and 10 Gordos or 20 Lanceros? So 5 Churchills versus 10 Robustos, 10 Gordos versus 20 Lanceros. Booth, you're up first.
20 Lanceros and 10 Robustos, bro. All day.
Quantity. Nice.
Well, it's not necessarily quantity. It's also quality.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Because I'm going to hear something different here in a minute. So this is going to be good. Okay. 20 Lanceros and 10 Robustos for Booth. Dennis, you're up.
I'm a Lancero man all the way. It's versatile. It's long enough where you can cut it down if you want to, right? You can oh shit, what's the English word eludes me. It's the Trip, help me out here.
Circumcised.
Kind of, yes. Close.
Bifurcate, cut it in half.
Well, you can cut down your Lanceros to make them last longer. You can ration, that's the word. You can ration your tobacco when you have a Lancero. Whereas if you have a Robusto, yeah, you can cut it down, but ultimately what you're looking at when you burn it, you're going to go through a lot more tobacco in a much shorter period of time. So
by that same argument, will you take the Churchills?
Yeah, I would lean on the Churchills for sure, but the quantity of them, right?
Right.
20 Lanceros, 10 Churchills. I'd want 20 Lanceros.
Well, it's 5 Churchills versus 10 Robustos, or 10 Gordos versus 20 Lanceros. So you
Oh,
would
sorry.
do the
Okay.
so you do the 20 Lanceros versus the Gordos. Got it.
Sure. Yeah.
5 Churchills to 10 Robustos. Which one you taking
Yeah, it would be the Churchills.
for rationing sake? Okay, cool. All right, Aaron.
I'm gonna go with same as Mr. Booth. I'm going the Lancero Robusto.
My man.
Yeah. I know Coop's great. Coop, no, you can't go all Gordos. You can't go all Gordos, Coop. Not one of the questions. But yeah, you gotta go. You got multifaceted, you got quantity, you got quality. Lancero Robusto.
All right, Trip. What about you?
Lancero Robusto, baby.
I was the one who came up with this question, and I actually struggled on the first one, the 5 Churchills versus 10 Robustos, because I love
That was a
Robustos.
harder decision.
This was the hardest one. I think I'm still gonna go with the quantity too. I think I'll take the 10 Robustos and the 20 Lanceros. So, Trip, Coop, that leaves you, buddy. Let's hear it.
How many Gordos were there again?
10 Gordos versus 20 Lanceros, 5 Churchills versus 10 Robustos.
Okay, so let's kind of first. I don't think the first one was hard at all. It's the Robustos all the way, because I don't know in a survival situation if a long cigar is really the answer in this case, right? So I'm going in it. But listen, if I'm in a survival situation, there's no way I want to be saddled with 20 Lanceros. Right? I'm sorry.
They're so fragile.
I am sorry. I'm going with a Gordo all the way, and I'll just smoke it slower. I mean, this is you guys are nuts.
Die with honor. That's what it is.
Die with honor. You can have good tobacco. I mean, no, I'm going with the Gordos. I'm sorry. I knew that. I know why Bear put me last. And
good tobacco, man.
Coop wants the girth.
That's savage. Did you hear that, Matt? That's Coop saying
Loves
he
the
never
girth.
liked a Mutante ever. That's what he was trying to say.
Unbelievable.
Well, we're not
So
knowing
hurtful.
what the things are. There are some good Lanceros, but yeah, again, and there's some bad Gordos. But I'm sorry. I mean, in a survival situation, do I want to deal with a freaking Lancero?
Coop's getting a pile of big paybacks.
Yeah, exactly. I'm getting big paybacks.
We're airdropping you 70s all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, Coop, what in the 2 Mules for Sister Sarah are you talking about? Because we learned some lessons in that movie. Just saying.
All right, well, guys, this will bring us back to our next third. So we're gonna pause here real quick and bring it back for our thoughts on the second third of the cigar. So
We're back.
And welcome back, everybody. We are smoking the Johnny Tobbaconaut from Room 101 Toro size here on Roundtable number 16, a special collaboration with ELOSOFUMARTAKES, featuring Operation Airdrop to benefit our friend Ben Lee and all of his neighbors in Western North Carolina as they're dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Check out Operation Airdrop online, and you can donate specifically for this disaster or donate to the organization as a whole. And our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in Western North Carolina. And we also want Mother Nature to take a week off because our good friend Trip is in the lines of another tropical storm now. Could be classified as a hurricane later. Hopefully it stays on that lower end of the spectrum for Trip and his family and everyone in Western Florida. So
yeah. Hey, Bear, just 2 quick notes before we get into it. First of all, for folks who the website, I think we put the link out there already.
Mm-hmm.
So folks don't know, again, Operation Airdrop, they work on handling supplies, obviously delivering those supplies, but they need money to do that. So the donations you do will help get the money there. So definitely check out that link. Please do that. The other person we should mention, who we really didn't mention tonight, who's also very much affected in that area, is our good friend Jason Robnott from Christoph Cigars,
Mm-hmm.
who lives in the Asheville area right now. So I know he's been going through a lot there too. So for folks who know him, keep him in your thoughts and prayers as well, because he's dealing with also stuff up there.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about we are smoking again, the Room 101 Johnny Tobbaconaut, the 2023 release. As we mentioned earlier, there's the 3 iterations of this particular cigar, and we are smoking its latest edition. We are on to the second third. So let's go ahead and kick things off with Dennis. What was your experience like in the second third?
Man, it's hard to say because I'm just at
Holy
the
shit.
Overachiever.
half inch of the cigar. I've loved it so much. I've been enjoying it so much that I can't stop myself. It's been very much the same. I like that the spice is ramped up a little bit. And certainly part of that is my smoking style is pretty quick. I want more. I need more of these. This is the last one I had. I need to get some more. We got to talk about this. But that's about it. Fantastic. It's been fantastic. I'm still nubbing this thing, desperately trying to smoke the last remnants of the cigar.
Were there
Burning
any
fingers.
Were there anything specific in the transition from the first third to the second third?
Yeah, so the caramel, the caramel that Aaron brought up really popped out for me and intensified in the final third. I really enjoyed that.
Awesome. All right. Well,
You guys are
Coop,
gonna freak out. So I'm having that made in petite Coronas, man.
Hell yes.
I don't know when or if we're gonna release them, but I'm gonna make sure you guys get some.
Nice.
So I'm
Oh,
gonna be
yeah,
packing them. Yeah.
Sign me up. Let's go.
That'll
Excellent.
be
That's-
spice
that's-
amplification.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Spicification.
There you go.
Yeah.
Look at Coop. Look at him.
Progressive. What are you gonna do?
He is. He's a progressive dude.
Coop, let's talk about your second third experience.
Yeah, it really the second third kind of continued where the first third left off. A lot of nice sweetness and citric notes. Past the midway point, I'd say the strength's amped up to more of a medium now. In the medium range, some of the citrus started to recede a bit, and I definitely started to get that spice. It's more of that white pepper and black pepper mix I'm getting. And there's some cedar and woody notes that are also emerging with this right now, and everything's balancing out really nicely right now. So I feel like nothing's really overshadowing. The creaminess has subsided by this point as well too, but nonetheless, I think all the flavors are playing very nice together, and it's continuing to make a very enjoyable experience as I get. I'm almost at the end of the second third right now.
Yeah, for me, the second third was interesting. It was almost a tale of two halves within that third. After the first third, which was really enjoyable, it kind of took again, this was my experience tonight, took an interesting turn into some sharp tannic wood. There was kind of really a little bit more of abrasive. The creaminess kind of died off relatively quickly, which was interesting. Which it hasn't really been consistent with the experiences that I have before. But then suddenly again, I don't know if it was because I let the cigar sit down for a while or if I was because I purged it or something like that. Halfway through the second third, those flavor notes from the original first third kind of came back to a little bit more consistency. I got a little bit more of that cereal came back. The pepper was a lot more sharp, especially on the retrohale. For me, I was getting a lot more of that black pepper that we've been talking about too. That minerality is really still sinking in. I love minerality in a cigar. So that was really kind of welcome. But that was an interesting kind of turn within the second third for me. So Trip.
I mean, really kind of echoing what you guys have been saying. I would classify, I'm trying to think of who said what. Coop said bitterness. Dennis said caramel. To me, it reminds me of like a burnt caramel, like just a little bit of bitterness.
Yeah.
But mostly a sweetness.
Right. Yeah. It's not offensive or aggressive, is what I would say.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that kind of like when you burn something and like when you burn rice and it infiltrates all of the flavor, turns into that burnt flavor. No, it's that kind of like extra toasty caramel.
Yeah, is there anything worse than burnt popcorn? Like one burnt piece of popcorn in the whole bag.
Oh yeah, burnt popcorn is a bad one.
Ruins the entire bag.
Hey,
ruins the bag.
You got to talk about green tea. Now we get into the genmai cha, and genmai cha is toasted rice green tea, which has a really wonderful toasted. Losing my voice. Wonderful toasted quality to it that has some fullness, which is, I think, what I kind of got toward the end of the cigar. Not to stick on the Japanese theme too heavy, but there is something there, man. I think Matt can back me up. I know he's got some.
You're fully backed.
Mm-hmm.
You're fully backed.
Aaron, what about you? The second, third experience?
Yeah, so I think it's a solid medium. I think the black pepper has ramped up, so Trip was talking about what I was gonna say, it reminded me of a little bit of like a burnt marshmallow, like when you
Mhm.
get like a char at the fire and you get a little bit of that burnt to it. It's got a little bit of that what I think kind of Coop said, that woodiness. There's a little more woodiness to it.
Yep.
So it's got that.
Mhm.
So I just kind of equated that a little bit to like a burnt when you take a marshmallow and kind of light it on fire. So it's still that a little bit of that sweetness, but it's got that, we'll say the bitterness to it, but a little bit of that toastiness with the woodiness. Still burned great. Still open draw, medium. The creaminess has died down a little bit in the second, third versus the first, but still really enjoying the cigar.
All right, so Booth, I know you have to go here in a couple of minutes, but before you did, I'm going to be asking this question later when we do score. So I'm prepping you guys for this to not do it. So a lot
101
of a lot of a
points.
lot of
Thank you.
well, that's predictable. You're room 101, man. Come on, think about this. All right, so but Coop and I obviously do a particular theme show a couple times a year called our Mount Rushmore series, and we we feature a brand and we say, these are the cigars that we would feature from that brand on it's their Mount Rushmore, and we map it to the presidents and everything, and we have this wonderful dialogue around it. So without getting too complicated into it, this being your favorite blend that you've created, I would assume that it's on your Mount Rushmore. I'm going to be asking the panel later on in the show when we give final scores if this cigar makes their room 101 Mount Rushmore. We're not necessarily going to all their other picks, but I just want to know if it makes their Mount Rushmore for room 101. So prepare yourself, gentlemen. That is a question for later as we go into scores. But I will ask you, Matt, what are the other three cigars that make up your Mount Rushmore? Or am I completely off that this wouldn't make your Mount Rushmore?
Do they have to be from my brand?
Ooh. You know what? I'll leave it to
or are we staying brand centric? Because I feel like no matter what, even if it was cigars from my brand, one cigar on my Mount Rushmore would be the Padron Anniversary 64 Principe.
Okay.
Natural wrapper. Johnny Tobbaconaut, the Moon Man, his beautiful helmet would be chiseled in stone alongside the other guys. I definitely would place Farce Maduro on Room 101's Mount Rushmore. And I would place the original Namakubi Ecuador on Room 101's Cigars Mount Rushmore.
Great cigar.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Those are my picks.
Nice.
Did I pick enough? Or do I have another?
Yeah,
I think I have another.
That's four. You
Was
said
that
that's
four?
Padron, Jonathan P. Tobacconaut,
Jonathan P.
Farce Maduro, and the original Namakubi Ecuador.
There we go.
Okay. Interesting. I was wondering if you were going to pick any of the master collections.
Look, man, there have been a lot of phenomenal blends that we've released over the years.
Mm-hmm.
If we were going to include master collection, I would definitely go with the third in the Petit Corona. But we would have to chisel another cigar onto Mount Rushmore for that.
Yeah, there you go. Nice.
Mhm.
All right. Has anyone else not gone on the second, third? Everyone else has talked about it, right? Yeah, I think I've got everybody. Cool. All right. Well, we're going to take our final break before we come back and give our final thoughts on the last third and our scores. So definitely stay tuned for that.
Pause.
Okay.
And we're back.
Are
we back? We're back.
We're back. Matt, before you had to go, I just wanted to thank you again for hopping on tonight and being part of this the special panel, and the special roundtable for the great folks in Western North Carolina, and for all you do at Room 101, man. That I think it's a little early to tell on final scores and stuff, but I think you can tell that we're all digging the cigar, and you're doing some great stuff there. So we really appreciate your time tonight. So thank you so much.
Look, man, I wouldn't have missed it. I appreciate being invited, even if Coop didn't want to invite me. I know you did.
We did.
So I appreciate that.
I did want to invite you.
Oh,
absolutely. It was not a.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
you make a lady feel special.
I have the text.
In fact, In fact, Matt, you're also going to be invited for a full show pretty soon, so stay tuned on that. So we'll have
I await with bated breath.
Yep. So
my dear Cooper.
we're well due to have you on that. Yes. So stay tuned on that. I promise. We will do that. In fact,
Don't get my hopes up, man.
no, you will be. It'll
I'm
be
very,
this
I'm
year.
very
It'll be this,
sensitive.
it'll be this year.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Before he has to go, guys, any questions for Matt about this cigar, about anything in particular, before we let him off the hook for the rest of the night, and he can.
I can run off into the night like Red Dragon.
With the sleeping bag and a tent and a.
So Matt, I never like to
Mhm.
ask. I never like to
Mhm.
ask you what's new, right? But is Johnny Tobbaconaut's story going to continue in some form? Is my question.
So check this out.
Mhm.
I'm glad you asked.
Right.
Because yes, the story, we haven't even scratched the surface on the story of Jonathan P. Tobbaconaut. Next year, by the way, Cooper, is the 10th anniversary of Johnny Tobbaconaut.
Yes, it is. Yeah, that's
It
kind of where I
is.
was going. Yep, because we said 2015. Yep.
Yeah, and we are going to celebrate with the 10th anniversary of Johnny Tobbaconaut.
Nice.
Very nice. Good
Mhm.
job.
Very different profile, but it's going to be highly. I mean, it's going to be it's a phenomenal blend, but also in the spirit of how I structure Room 101's collections, it's going to be highly complementary to the original or core Johnny Tobbaconaut blend, but it's going to be a little bit more earthy, a little bit more girthy. It's still going to have that signature white spice, because I think that that's something that's synonymous with that series for me. But many different dynamics to that blend. I think you're going to be very pleased.
I'm excited. That's
I
good.
hope, at least moderately pleased.
That's good because this was a nice hit for you guys, and I think Matt, I'm not just saying this because you're on. You know, General's done a lot of acquisitions in over the years, and I'm not just saying because I've said it on other shows. The Room 101 one, it's been a nice acquisition. It's done very well. It's one of the better ones I've seen them do, and the brand I think is
I
growing
agree.
nicely. Yeah, so I think you should take
It
your
is.
hat off for that. It's a great job. By
Thank you, man.
and the STG team. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
I mean, look, man, we're exercising shared vision.
Yeah.
And you know, the future looks really bright for Room 101.
I think so.
Absolutely. Anyone else got anything for Matt before we bid him good night?
Love you, brother.
Yep.
I
Matt,
love
see you.
you.
Matt,
Yeah, it was good to see everybody, man.
congrats on the cigar because I not to spoil anything, it's fantastic.
Thank you, man.
I think you figured
I'm
that out
partial
by
to
now.
it myself.
Well, I mean, I do buy a lot of boxes, but I bought a lot of boxes of these. So
You know,
those
man-
lights that are behind you, I may be powering those lights just by my paychecks.
Well, we thank you.
Yeah.
We thank you for keeping the lights on here at Room 101 home base, right? No, man, and I think that's actually that says a lot when a chronic cigar smoker elects to buy a box, you know, because my box purchases I know personally are few and far between, but when I make them, it's it's a noteworthy cigar and it's an investment into that specific cigar. So
Well,
thank you, man.
In Aaron's case, it's not buying the box that's of a worthy note. It's the multiple boxes upon boxes.
Right, the stackology.
Yeah, the
Anybody-
stackology.
The
anybody-
10th,
anybody
12th
buy a
box is when it
Yeah,
counts.
anybody can buy a box. It's all about the second box, right?
Yeah.
No doubt.
I think
You know what? You know what we need is do you keep your boxes?
I do.
Are you a box person? We're gonna have to get a picture of you with your stack of boxes. How does it come up to elbow yet?
I
You
don't
get me a
have-
picture when it comes elbow.
Okay, I'll when it goes elbow, I'll take a picture for you.
Perfect.
I'll text it.
Perfect.
It might go viral, so we gotta be careful.
Well, you know.
After all,
Perfect.
some men are longer than others. So
It's true. It's true.
Well, Matt, can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for your time tonight, and your wonderful creation of the Jonathan P. Tobbaconaut, the third iteration of the Johnny Tobbaconaut, coming from Room 101 Cigars, as well as all the other brands and blends that you've made over the years. And thank you for gracing us with your presence tonight. It was always enjoyable as always.
Absolutely.
Gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to feast on this delicious volley of conversation this evening. And I appreciate you giving Jonathan P. the consideration that he deserves. And I'll see you guys out there.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks,
Take
Matt.
care.
Take care, guys.
Matt, take care. Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
All right. I know we're cruising through the cigar, guys, but I had a couple more questions for you.
And he's gone. Okay.
So,
As quick as he came.
And just like that.
like
Fart in the wind.
breath in the night.
Whisper in the darkness.
Yeah.
Dare I say, a ghost in the darkness. Good movie. We should watch it.
All right. So this is this next segment is our Everybody Eats segment, brought to you by Postania Cigars. If you always make sure that your servant's towel is bigger than your appetite, everybody will always get theirs. Postania Cigars is more than just great cigars made by cool people. They embody an attitude of gratitude and grit. With Postania, everybody eats. All right. So we've all had those. Wow.
I had to
Okay.
put this up real quick. That was the porchetta I had in Italy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Damn.
porchetta from Italy. I tried to do it with the commercial. I couldn't time it in time, so I just figured I'd do it now.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
yeah.
somebody ate, so it counts, right?
It was good. Yeah, I just figured it would go here. So didn't mean to derail you, Bear. I had
Oh,
that
it's all
picture
good.
sitting there. Yep.
Yeah, that's fit. Jesus, that is
That's porchetta. That was good porchetta.
that's gorgeous.
Yeah.
All right, so we've all had those moments, guys, where like we've been like really, really hungry in our life. Like maybe it's been hours or a really long time between meals or whatever, or we're just particularly starving. A lot of times this happens on the trade show floor, right? Where we're working all day and we're just absolutely starving. What's a meal that comes to mind, or a dish or something that like you are just absolutely famished? I'm kind of going along the themes of the disaster, right? Still, but you were just absolutely famished and that you like devoured into it. And it was just like the best tasting thing that you've ever had. Mostly because of just how hungry you were. I find that sometimes it's simple stuff. It's not like, the richest steak or the,
Yep. I'm gonna go because this is death row, like in a sense of like death row sandwich. So for me, peanut butter and jelly can't go wrong if you're hungry, and it's
Hell
simple
yeah.
and it's easy, and it always satisfies no matter what. Like no matter what time of day you're having a good PB&J, it's quick, it's filling, and it's my go-to sandwich in a time of hunger. So
My man.
PB&J.
What kind of jelly you going with?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that is crucial. That's a crucial question here.
Oh,
If you have your choice.
yeah. I'll go grape.
Wow, classic man, huh?
I'll go grape. I was gonna go strawberry, raspberry. I don't know. Grape is kind of classic, right? But the question sometimes though is, do you go crunchy peanut butter, or you go smooth? I usually go smooth, but
I usually go smooth because my wife hates when I buy crunchy. Like if I buy crunchy, she gets mad because then she might accidentally eat it, kind of thing.
yeah, but PB&J, man, you can't go. You can literally. I've never had, knock on wood, a bad PB&J. It's hard. That's like a hard meal to screw up.
Yeah.
On January 1st, I will have gone 10 years without having peanut butter.
Well,
It's really sad. I miss it
Yeah,
so
man.
much. I am recovering. I am a recovering peanut butteraholic, man. Like straight up. Like could not put that stuff down. I had to quit it, man. Just unbelievable. But man, peanut butter and jelly. I miss peanut butter and jelly. Red plum specifically. Red plum jelly. If you're asking me on the jelly type. So
I've never had it. I'll have to check it out.
oh my gosh. So good. So but yeah, I miss peanut butter. Hey, all right. Anybody else?
I have a really off the wall one.
Get it. Let's go.
All right. It's off the wall, but you can get it in any supermarket, right? So if you're hungry and you need something, I'm going with those Star-Kissed tuna packs in the bag.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
They are really good. And I don't get, like, they have different types. They have just from basic tuna to like flavors and stuff. But the basic tuna, I'm telling you, it's good. You could take those with you and just literally get a plastic spoon or fork and eat it right out of the pouch. And they're good. And I think it's actually good tuna that's in there. And I never have a problem with it. It's a good snack as opposed to getting like something like potato chips or anything like that, When I was doing cross-country drives, I'd take some of those packs with me, and they were great to have. You don't have to deal with a can or anything like that. They have salmon and chicken as well, but I like the tuna ones the best, the Starkist ones.
Nice.
That car with a little cigar smoke and some tuna in the wafting through the air of your car.
Well, man, exactly.
Boy, sign me up.
I know I had it in one of the cars once, and I think it was when we were in Vegas, and people smelled it, and they were wondering what it was because they smelled the vinaigrette or something
dead
from it.
fish, the dead
It was
fish and
definitely.
vinegar.
I think this is before we had the media come. I think Loomis pointed out, "What the hell did you eat in there?" I'm
Of course,
positive-
Loomis did.
Yeah, Loomis figured. I think Loomis figured out what it
Well,
was.
yeah, he ate seafood, so yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can tune a piano, but you can't tune a fish.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
All right, Dad joke, you're up because I know you got a great answer to the shit.
I don't. I don't because I eat so many different kinds of foods. Like if listen, I'll tell you what. Lately, if I'm in a pinch and I'm hungry, I'm going for sardines or mackerel, smoked mackerel, skin on, bone in, the full shebang. I like it with the full stuff. I hate this skinless shit that's been coming out lately. Sardines, mackerels, everything else, all skinless. I want the skin, man. That's where the flavor is,
Oh man.
where the magic happens. Or a little kipper snack. A little smoked kipper snack.
Dennis, these guys do not know kippers, the greatness of kippers, but I just wonder what people's reaction would be to the kippers.
Oh, it's okay. Nobody's perfect. That's fine.
But you and I appreciate what a good kipper. Kipper is. Let me put it this: Loomis would absolutely die if he was in a room with cooked
he would
kippers.
hate it. Yeah,
he would absolutely die because it's a very fishy smell to it.
It's intense. It's
Yeah.
Much like the fire at the circus. It's intense. And so I love.
I love kippers, man. We should bring some kippers to the media compound.
So
That's like,
Yeah, you're gonna have to be one that goes.
Not
to
if Aaron's
fisticuff.
going to be there.
we'll do it the last day.
Canned fish with a little bread on the side. You get a little rye or something else. You dunk it
Really
in
good.
and everything else. Like I think that's just my go-to, like my happy place. But to Aaron's point, I love peanut butter and jelly. The problem is I like not the common peanut butter and jelly. I like peanut butter and jelly, but I like peanut butter with different kinds of jelly, different sort of weird, like rose jelly. I really love that. But I grew up with that, so it's different and unique. I don't think it's very common.
Okay. On the theme of notes, on fish notes, I do, man. I've oh god, I cannot get enough of pickled herring. I think pickled herring's amazing.
Pickled herring is fantastic. What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite?
No, I don't. But anytime I see it on a menu or like I'll buy it in different jars, like
It depends on the pick. It depends on it. Some I like better than others.
Or
It's either really good or really bad.
rolled mops. Like let's
But
go.
kippers are better. Isn't kipper a derivative of smoked herring?
So kipper's a style. It's filleted out butterfly. Sorry.
That's what. Yeah.
It's a butterfly fillet and it's smoked.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Makes it kipper. It's saltier. It's a little smokier.
Yep.
It's a little more oily again because you're looking at usually herring, sometimes mackerel. If you're really lucky, you get mackerel. I love mackerel. It's a fish that everybody hates in the U.S. for the most part because it smells like oil and gasoline.
Yeah, it is very, and this comes from this Dennis, because I had some Russian Jewish blood in me, and that's where I think that it came from. Is more on the Russian side that am I wrong on that?
But no, it's absolutely, you're absolutely on the mark, man. And your time in New York, you get that feel. You learned.
People like my wife never had heard of kippers, and she lived in Staten Island, but it's just you had to be in certain areas where
Staten Island doesn't count. It's not a real borough.
It's exactly, yeah.
Let's be real.
But it's
Bialys versus bagels, right? There's an argument to be had there.
Well, we talked.
I'm always a Bialy guy,
and it's hard to get a good Bialy. We as learned in Vegas, yeah. Even at a good place, it was hard to get a good Bialy.
Oh god, bagels sound good too. Like smoked salmon, lox, just fantastic.
Oh, lox.
I think charcuterie in general, like anything, like any kind of smoked salami and stuff, like pate, I could devour that shit. Like it always hits the spot whenever like I'm hungry, even not hungry, I'll eat that stuff. Like it's just so goddamn good. So, all right, so. Jay Davis said, "Smells like oil and gasoline. Good grief! Can we discuss something?
Jay, when you go to New
Well,
York, I'm gonna take
interesting,
you for
like
kippers
dumpster
in the.
diving.
I'm gonna take you for kippers. We're gonna have kippers.
Oh
If
boy.
if I bring it to the media compound, yeah, you can come over. Man. I
Oh
think you'll
man.
still think it's good. That's why. It's just you
Well,
got to get past some of the odors.
well,
Is
Yeah.
we'll find
powerful.
out here. All right.
Yeah.
Let's we'll go ahead and bring it back for the last third here, and then we'll finish off our thoughts. So here we go. And welcome back to roundtable number 16 with special collaboration of ELOSOFUMARTAKES for our special collaboration show featuring and supporting the good folks in Western North Carolina via Operation Airdrop. We are smoking the room 101, Johnny Tobbaconaut Toro. I'm here with Will Cooper, Dennis Fang, Aaron Nielsen, and Trip Waldrop. And we are on our final third. So we're going to give our last third thoughts and then talk about the smoking experience as a whole. And we'll talk about the last third first, and then we'll circle back to do our overall experience and scores here right now. So, Trip, I don't think we've started with you. Let's go ahead and hear your thoughts here.
I mean, final third is really just a culmination of the flavors that came before it. The increasing in intensity of, in particular, that that burnt caramel, kind of very slight bitterness, burnt sugar, caramelized sugar, maybe is the right word. The increasing of those layers of spice that we talked about on the retrohale. Like it almost reminds me a little bit of horseradish at this point. Like it's really got that spice to it for me. And then I found in the final third the sweetness kind of came back a little bit more than it was in the second third. Yeah.
How was your overall construction experience? Any relights, any touch-ups, any issues like that?
I relit twice, but I think it was it felt like my fault because I had set the cigar down and talked for a couple minutes or something like that. Can't always blame it on the cigar.
Okay. Coop, what about your last third?
A little different than Trip. And this is I've reviewed this, so it's kind of documented in there. The last third wasn't quite as enjoyable as the first 2/3. It got a lot more tannic. It lost the woody notes, kind of got, like I said, more, were a little more merged. Some of the nice sweetness that I got from the citrus, it just really wasn't there anymore. The pepper spice leveled off. It just wasn't as enjoyable as those first 2/3, which are fantastic. As you mentioned construction, the construction is really great on this cigar. I have no qualms. The drawer a little looser than maybe I would go, but nonetheless, it didn't have any adverse effects other than just make sure you don't blow through it and smoke it, like Aaron said earlier on.
Alrighty. Dennis.
Well, judging by the fact that I completely smoked this thing down until my fingers turned purple and blistered, I have blistered fingers from smoking this thing down. I loved it, and the flavor quality, not the quality, but the profile. From the second third, I mentioned the caramel notes. Trip made a great point. The burnt caramel flavor quality to it transitioned perfectly into the final little nub that I had. I love this thing completely to the end. And listen, the fact that I smoked this as fast as I did, it speaks volumes about how great this tobacco is and the blend is and the cigar itself and the construction. It was very forgiving. Where, oftentimes we'll smoke a cigar really fast, it kind of bites back a little bit. You get some astringency, you'll get some kind of acridness to it. I didn't get any of that with this. I loved it to the very end. And the only thing I'd say is I'm sad that it's gone. I've smoked this thing and I'm sad it's not here anymore. I want more of it.
Aaron.
Yeah, so I'll go a little bit about what Coop said. So I got it to me, the pepper got up a little higher. Still stayed medium bodied. I thought the woody component, kind of the cedar, the woody was much more prominent in the last third. I think there was still a hint of sweetness, but it wasn't nearly the creaminess and the sweetness for the first 2/3, of the cigar, which are fantastic. What I will say, what I really liked about this cigar, because when we've done other cigars, whether it's been for the review or we just talk about it, so often that the last third gets that muddled. You get that muddle mush, whatever flavor. This one does not have that muddled. Now, it's not as enjoyable in the last third as the first two. However, you can still pick out the flavor profiles, what Matt, I think, was trying to achieve. There's some of that minerality as well on the final third. But look, I mean, from a draw, much rather have an open draw than a tight draw because I can control the open draw. I smoked it very fast. I mean, so you got to be careful with it. But for this cigar, and maybe we'll talk a little bit more about it when we rank it or give our ratings. Kind of in the morning with like a cup of coffee or something like that, I think would go just outstanding. So while the final third wasn't as good as the first two, still very enjoyable for me.
Does anyone so my experience is the same too. Like it was really hard to not smoke and enjoy this as quickly as it probably would have burned. We talked about the burning of it, how quickly it was going through the cigar. That's pretty consistent with most Vitolas. The Toro, I feel like, smokes a lot faster than all.
Yes.
The Figurado is probably by design smokes the slowest. But like I would even say the Gordo smokes faster. Yes, Coop, I've smoked the Gordo in this particular blend. But it's as much as I enjoy the smoking experience and did tonight as well too. That is one of the detractors for me with this particular cigar. Is that it does finish so quickly. Because again, I'd want to savor it a little bit more. And I don't think there's anything you can do about it. I think it's just the way that the blend is comprised, considering how consistent that's been. That being said, the last third for me was a little bit still a little bit creamy. It still had a little bit of the nuances of everything that we've kind of talked about. There was some milkiness, some creaminess, some cereal, some citrus, some minerality, particularly on the nose. I did have to relight it twice in the last third tonight. Which isn't particularly too bad, but it does detract a little bit from the experience for me. But I really enjoy this blend. Really, really do. My particularly favorite Vitola is the Robusto, ironically, even though I talk about how fast the smoking experience is, the Robustos do smoke pretty quick. But that's my favorite Vitola, which is, pretty typical of me. Aaron talked about how he likes the Toro. This is his favorite size. And are there any other favorite Vitolas or any other Vitola experiences that you guys want to talk about in this particular blend?
Yeah, I thought the Robusto was superior. In fact, I'm sorry I didn't review the Robusto one I did. And I will give it. The Robusto to me was better because that last third wasn't quite. It really didn't have it wasn't as impactful to detract the score as much. I mean, it kind of finished up similar, but it wasn't. I thought this one was unfortunately it was a little more prolonged.
The tannins aren't as pronounced in the Robusto.
The tannins aren't as pronounced in the Robusto. Like I said, this is still a very good cigar. The Toro wasn't my first choice of this.
Yeah.
But I know people were high on this size, so I
Yeah.
kind of respect that too.
Trip, Dennis, any other Vitola smoked that
I've only had the Robusto and the Toro, and I think I've preferred the Toro more just because it lasts a little longer.
Yeah, same for me. Absolutely.
It might be a fun exercise to go back and try the Figurado out and see if. I mean, it smokes slower again by design. I think it might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Coop, what are your thoughts on the Gordo?
I have not had the Gordo with this.
Oh wow, I've had one.
Yeah, I've not. That's the one I have not had.
That's
I'm gonna
shameful.
give it a
I
try.
feel bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So should we get into the scores, everybody?
Can we do one thing before we get into the scores?
Sure.
Can we do crescendo of flavor?
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. So if folks aren't familiar with crescendo of flavor, we picked the third that was the best, basically.
Mhm.
And there's one cigar company that always says the crescendo flavors in the last third. That's kind of how this started. So it's simple. Just pick your third that you like the best.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's where your crescendo of flavor was. Yeah.
Oh, Coop, kick things off. What was your favorite third?
Mine was the first third, without a doubt. I thought that first third, it's as good as look, it's gonna get you into that cigar. It's good. The second third is fine, but it starts to do that change in the second third. But for me, it was definitely the first third.
Absolutely. Trip.
I like the second third of this a little bit more. I like how that spice starts to pick up. I like how the sweetness to me really starts kicking off in the second third.
Dennis.
I mean, if we're talking in musical terms, crescendo, I would say my mezzo forte is very much the second third, where really kind of it's there, but I loved the final third. I loved like leading into the final third. I think that the second third of the cigar gave me an opportunity to kind of take a break before we got into the final third.
So
And
that transition from the second third to the last third was like your favorite part of the cigar?
The second to last was my favorite transition for the cigar. I loved it.
Interesting. Okay. Aaron?
I'm gonna go the transition from the first to second, and truth be told, that first third smokes so freaking fast.
Yeah,
So,
man.
oh, if it smoked a little slower, I'd probably go the first third, but like you're through that first third so fast because of the open draw and just getting into the cigar that I felt like I was into the second third really quickly. So I would say probably into that second third, but I mean, if I have to pick up first or second, I would go second because I think the second it develops into the flavor that it's intended. That first is excellent, but it's just so fast that I'll go with the second third.
Interesting. For me, that I normally in the Robustas and the Toros that I've smoked in this particular blend, I normally would say the second third. With this experience specifically tonight, the second third was that had that weird turn for me from the first transition to the second third. It was weird that it just kind of went a different direction. Really not consistent with other experiences of smoking this particular blend. So I was just I guess a one-off. I'll take it. But I mean, it wasn't like the worst tasting thing in the world, but it just was definitely different from the experiences that I've had before. So the second third, not this time, so it was the first third for me. But like to your point, Aaron, like it just goes so quickly. I thought I was in the second third, like a few puffs in actually. So like, and it's the ultimate for me. It's the ultimate detractor of this particular cigar. I really like it. I really do. We're gonna get into scores here in a little bit. But that smokes so flipping fast, and I mean it definitely doesn't prohibit me from going back for more, you know. So it's not, I guess it's not too much of a detractor, but you know, if I'm nitpicking the blend, it does smoke pretty quick. But you know, which I find it's interesting. Does anyone else find this interesting, considering we were talking about the girth of the wrapper and just how substantial that is? And you'd think that it would smoke a little bit longer.
Well, I agree with that, except just the draw is so open. I mean, it's just you have to really be careful. Because I mean, I can smoke this thing. If I was not putting it down and just, watching something smoking, I could probably get through this thing in 45 minutes, which is, I mean, even fast for me for a Toro. Toro's usually an hour for me. This thing, without even trying, I can get it down in 45 minutes. So, look, I love the flavor, so it's fine, but I mean, it's a fast burn.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. All righty. All right, guys. Well, let's get into those overall thoughts of this particular cigar and your final scores. So, I think I will kick things off with Dennis.
So final thoughts, I absolutely love, and again to Aaron's point on the burn thing, it burns very quickly. Kudos to the cigar and the blend and everything else. The fact that us that smoke it quicker have a really great experience, and it doesn't turn into like an acrid shit bomb, to be fair, if I may say that way. Just a great cigar, man. Scoring wise, truth be told, I am not down on the sickness with scoring necessarily. If I really had to, like, if I had to pick a number, I don't know. It's high for me. I would say this is one of my favorite cigars in 2024. This is my top 3 personally. And I would score it at a 90 94. Is that what you scoring people? Is that reasonable for you scoring?
It's your particular opinion, man. So yeah,
It's
it's
your
a 100
opinion,
point.
it's
It's a
all
100
right.
point scale. So if you're on a 94, I mean that's an amazing score. That's
If
unbelievable.
you want to call it a 103, that's up to you, buddy.
Right,
Sure,
right.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Right,
Well, we don't see a whole lot of cigars in the 60s, right? In 65
Yeah.
range.
right.
But I can think of a couple of cigars that I've smoked in the 65 range. Yeah. So anyway, I think this is a really great cigar. I think it rates really highly for me personally, and I suspect it would rate similarly for a lot of other people. Gentlemen, you let me know what you think. I'm curious how you feel about that.
Coop's already scored this on the review, so I'm anxious to see if tonight's experience was consistent with that. That experience on the review, or if it was, if it differed. So Coop, let's go with you.
Well, again, we review a cigar on size, and this I scored it on the site in 89, and it basically was the same here. It's an 89. That's not a bad score, right? But it was lower than the Robusto would have scored for sure, which probably would have got a 90 on that. Now, that being said, this is still a cigar for $10, right?
Yeah.
Where, like I said, it didn't have quite I thought the Robusto had a little more wow factor to it. But for $10, this Toro is a very good cigar to have. And like I said, 89 in my world is not a bad score. I'm not knocking this cigar. I'm certainly recommend you buy this cigar, but I'd probably say buy the Robusto and see, as well, and see what you think about that.
compare the
The
two.
Robusto was my favorite of the three. So it's an 89, solid. I think it would, if the last third didn't take a downturn, this would have also did what the Robusto did and got a 90.
Okay, so we got a 94 from Dennis and 89 from Coop.
Mhm.
Aaron, you've smoked boxes of these, man. Was tonight's experience pretty consistent with all those
Yeah.
others?
Yeah, so a couple things. This is going to come as high praise. You guys know that for the last 7 years, every day I have smoked the High Clear Castle, and I continue to. So
Yes.
by 30 boxes a year. If for some reason Nick would to no longer produce the High Clear Castle, this is what I would smoke in the mornings every day. Or if I start going
That
on
is
a budget.
hugely high praise.
Damn,
That is huge high
I-
praise. Yeah.
I know. Or if I would go on a budget crunch, I might have to switch to this because to Coop's point, it's cheaper. It's a very reasonably priced cigar.
Right.
I love the cigar. I absolutely love it. I'm torn. I'm going to go because I have a tendency to rate a little bit more friendly or higher on the scale than Coop does. I'm going to go 93. For everything I've said. Now, I have not had it in the Robusto. I've only smoked the Toro of this, so I'm interested. I may pick up a box of the Robustos. But for me, as I mentioned, morning with a cup of coffee, which I've done it before. It's great for me. It's medium bodied, it's flavorful, burns great, very quick, but burns great. The flavor profile for me is right up my alley. So I'm going to go 93. And again, this is definitely a box purchase for me, which I've bought multiple boxes. So as probably you guys could have guessed throughout my review and what the flavor notes I was getting and my thoughts of this, really like this cigar.
It's a fight check Norris for you, right? It's a fight check Norris.
It's close. It's close.
That's a pretty high level.
All right. Trip, do you mind if I go last? You want to go first before me?
No, I don't mind at all. I was thinking 93 as well. This is very high up for me on Connecticut's. Might be my favorite Connecticut right now, but that's hard to say because there's a lot of good Connecticut's out there. But this, like everybody else has said, this is a great cigar. Absolutely fantastic blend.
And I'll also say too, what you guys asked, Matt, this is my favorite Room 101. Truth be told, I've smoked a lot of the different stuff. Not everything has hit my profile. This one does, and so this one is definitely my favorite Room 101 cigar.
I agree with that.
That's how we're gonna finish the night. So yeah, we're gonna ask if this cigar goes on your Room 101 Mount Rushmore. I have a feeling I know the answers to this a little bit. So But my final thoughts on this particular smoking experience of the Toro, man, God, I am totally going to be the one that shits on this party. This is crazy. That real
Matt
that
deserves it.
that
Don't
interesting
feel bad.
that interesting transition from the first third to the second third was a really was a little off-putting to me. Was not consistent with my other smoking experiences, like I mentioned before, but it recovered incredibly well. So I really enjoyed the remaining part of the second third, and then the last third with a couple of relights that that obviously took away a little bit from the experience, and it did become a little bit of acrid in the final couple of puffs for me, which is why I put it down. But overall, I mean, I really enjoy this blend. I think it's fantastic. I was high on it at the trade show when I smoked it for the first time, and I talked to you guys about it. And I really love the cigar. I do favor it in the Robusto. If we were smoking previous experiences in the Robusto, I could see myself getting in that high 91, 92 range. But for me tonight, this Toro smoking experience, I am going to be the low man tonight. I'm going to be at an 88, which is definitely not a bad score.
We had a
especially-
wide range on you and
But
I.
this-
This is one of the wider ranges we've had on this actually, which is
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
fun when that happens. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
so-
I just think, I mean, look, everybody's entitled. But for me, an 88. And look, I know this is not about. I just think I've smoked 88s before, and for me personally, is not an 88. So that I'm surprised you're that low. I know I probably rate quote unquote higher.
No, there's no wrong answer here. I would
Yeah.
think.
No, it's not wrong. I'm just surprised you didn't rate. Just knowing that everything you said about the trade show, Bear, and you've smoked this in the past, and your thoughts of it, I'm surprised you gave it 88.
I would say my other smoking experiences with the Toro are going to be on that line with Coupe 89s and 90s. My Robusto smoking experience is 91, 92s all day. Like, I think it's that superior, in my opinion. I love the
Right.
blends. I love the blends. If this was if tonight, like, here's an indication of my score. Like, Coupe has said this before. I tend to score a little hard, particularly at the round table, because again, it's all about that particular smoking experiences. We're allowed to nitpick. We're allowed to kind of dive deep into it.
Sure.
I try to really kind of zone in on the cigar. If that was my smoking, if tonight's experience was my smoking experience for the Toro every single time, I would still buy Toros in this blend. So, if that's any indication of how much I
Right. That's
my
why
enjoyment of the blend.
I was 80. I would have said 90. I thought you were going 90, but that's all right.
Yeah.
No right or
So-
wrong.
So we have my score of the 88. Coop was at an 89. Trip, you were at a 93.
Yep.
Aaron, 93 as well.
Yep.
And Dennis was the high mark of a 94. So some high praise for Johnny Tobbaconaut from Room 101, the Toro size. I think it's fair to say we all recommend this one. Go out and get you a box. Coop and I certainly favor the Robusto. But Robusto or Toro, I don't think you can miss on this in particular. I actually enjoyed the Gordo too, much to Coop's delight. But I definitely favored these two Vitolas and the Perfecto if you guys want to try something different, or the Figurado rather. Maybe a slower smoking experience if you're afraid of it getting away from you. So, so again, I think our scores kind of answer that question. Aaron, you kind of kicked us off tonight. Would this particular cigar finish up on your Room 101 Mount Rushmore?
Yeah.
I think it's a resounding yes.
Yeah, for sure. And I gotta be. I've smoked Nakatamale, not the Nakatamale, the Namakuma,
Namakubi.
Yep, some of the farce, and I love the farce Maduro. I mean, so I like a lot of his stuff, but this one for me is his best cigar for me.
Awesome. And Dennis, I mean, with that score, it has to be on your Room 101 Mount Rushmore as well.
I want it. Yes, I'm gonna put it in my number one Mount Rushmore for Room 101. Definitely.
So your favorite Room 101 smoked?
And again, I got down on one shot, one kill for a long time, and it got a
The
lot.
OG, the original one?
Yeah, the OG.
God, that was fucking phenomenal.
It got some crap, I think, in certain circles. But anyway, it's all subjective at the end of the day, right? But I think like this is my new go-to Room 101 cigar.
Awesome.
Easily.
Trip.
I'm kind of in the same boat with Aaron. Some of the Room 101 stuff over the years hasn't quite hit for me. But this is one of the ones that does. The other ones that I think of are the farce. Matt, gave me a lot of shit for calling it the Farce one time.
Yeah, it's farce.
Farce, the T I really liked, and the 12th anniversary. I'll put those on my Mount Rushmore.
By the way,
12th
the T,
12th.
I didn't think about the T. That is a great cigar.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I didn't put that in the Room 101 bucket, but that is a fantastic cigar.
Yeah, hit and run, the tea, good stuff. Farce Maduro. I'm a big fan of that cigar too. Coop, what about you?
All right. So you look at the Mount Rushmore, original Namakubi and original Daruma make it. There's no if, and, or but that those two cigars are gonna make it. And then I gotta put Osaka as the third. So that fourth spot, I'm basically weighing out Farce Maduro, the Johnny Tobbaconaut version 3, or the Room 101 Connecticut. And Room 101 Connecticut beats both of those. So I'm going Room 101 Connecticut. The Robusto would have, like, the Robusto was in the running for that. That's what I'm saying. But I think that original Connecticut, it was, and people just don't remember how good that cigar
That
was.
cigar was fucking phenomenal.
I mean,
Jesus.
look, and like I said, they did a fine job with Johnny Tobacco. I think they've done General's done a nice job with this brand, and the blends have been good. But it's hard for me to knock any of those four cigars off, is what I'm saying. Osaka, Daruma, original Namakubi, and original Connecticut. So it just falls short here.
Yeah. It makes my round much more for sure too. Particularly specifically the Robusto.
I'm the only one that missed for it. Then I'm the only one that missed it. Yeah.
I was really curious because Matt and I have had this discussion. He's very fond of the Master Collection #3. To me, out of the 3 Master Collections,
it was really good.
Probably my least favorite of the Master Collections as
a
whole. Like that
Which was the Maduro? Which was the Maduro? Which was the Maduro?
That's number one.
That was the best one. The Maduro was the best one.
Yeah, the Master Collection #1 for me was fantastic. Daruma Gold for me, it still remains one of the best cigars that I've ever smoked, and that I've really cherished from him. So I hope he brings it back. But so that was this was kind of our curveball segment. So just permit me, guys, here. Got to pay homage to the people who support us. This was our curveball segment, which is brought to you by Dunbar Tobacco and Trust. Fastballs or curveballs, it doesn't matter since the company's inception. Steve Sock has been knocking them out of the park 9 consecutive years in consensus top 3. Congratulations to our good friend, Mr. Steve Saka. But I wanted to ask, one final question before we trail off into the night here. And Coop kind of alluded to it earlier too, and he said it just again just a second ago. As far as acquisitions is concerned, and we can name off a few where STG and Forge have done literally nothing with it, in the case of like Balmoral, or have done other things with it that just haven't been as favorable, or maybe have. Is it fair to say, and I'm leading with this is a leading question, so I apologize, because I firmly believe, I think they've done the best job of putting out releases post acquisition with this brand than any other acquisition that they've done, Alec Bradley included. But I think they've done a phenomenal job with this brand. How did Coop? It sounds like you might be in agreement with me here, but
yeah, to quote the legendary or hideous Jets coach Rich Kotite, he used to have an expression called "without question." This one has been the best. Bear for exactly what you said. This has been the best acquisition. Balmoral was a little different because remember it was a different reason why they were acquired, but the brand wasn't done well with Balmoral. So I mean, I'm looking at Tarano was one, Alec Bradley another, but this one, in my opinion, it was a great move, and the most of the cigars that they've come out with have been very good. So I'm very pleased with what STG's done with this. I didn't just say that because Matt was on. I do believe that.
Yep.
Well, I think to piggyback off of that, though, I would agree with Coop, and I think Matt touched on it a little bit. He's still involved, right? So if you look at some of the other acquisitions, the Alec Bradley piece, I don't know how much they're still involved. You guys would probably know better than I do, probably do know better than I do. But I think with Matt still being involved, which I think was maybe a question, right? Anytime you get acquired, like what's his involvement going to be? I mean, how is he going to be part of the acquisition? Is he going to ride off into the sunset and do something else? It sounds like not only is he involved, but involved heavily, which I think bodes well to keeping the brand consistent and what it's meant to be. So I think they're going about it the right way. Time will tell, but I think without question, this has been their best acquisition.
Easily.
Yep. Yep. I mean, Justin didn't fuck this up. So
Somehow.
we kid Justin, but no, this is, and look, we kid Justin, but I think there's been a good synergy with Justin and Matt. And I think that's played a key role with that.
Undeniably.
Yeah.
So.
And here's a quick point to it. And I don't think it would have been fair to ask this question with Matt on, just because I think it would have been slightly uncomfortable. But I think, to Justin's credit, and because Matt's had some partnerships over the years that I think we could characterize as some were successful, some were not successful, some were successful to a point.
Yeah,
I
think that's a fair. I think it's a fair assessment.
I think this one, top to bottom, beginning to end, or not to end, but beginning to so far, has been his most successful partnership that he's had. Which is, I mean, look, we like to rag on STG quite a bit, and we like to rag on Justin therefore quite a bit too. But I mean, I really applaud the entire STG organization, Justin, for really embracing Matt, and as
let him be himself. Yeah,
exactly. It was kind of very apparent tonight. He hasn't lost that Matt Boothness. He's still himself, and I really appreciate that. Because I mean, Room 101 wouldn't be without Matt Booth, and Matt Booth wouldn't be Matt Booth without being Matt Booth. So
and Bear, we should also say that Justin, we were trying to get Justin. He had a legitimate reason why he couldn't be on, just so you know. So.
No, he wanted to be on. Absolutely,
he did want. Yeah, yes, but there was a higher priority. And we totally understand that. So I just wanted to people know.
Yeah, no. Shout out to Justin. He's actually the one who he actually got me in touch with Matt. I can reach out to Matt anytime I want. I have a good relationship with him, but he actually took care of that for me. So really shout out to Justin for getting Matt on tonight's show.
Absolutely.
Being on board for what we were doing tonight, supporting Western North Carolina. Justin's from the South, and these are communities that he's spent a lot of time in. So this is really near and dear to his heart too. Yeah. So I think he's even got some family in Western North Carolina too, which is really important. Yeah. But for all those families out there that are suffering and in dire straits from the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, we really our thoughts really go out to you, our prayers as well. Check out, but if you guys are tuning in, this will be obviously in the show notes as well. It's in the chat earlier. Check out Operation Airdrop, great organization, and this is a real fast acting organization. I mean, they were the first one up that you could see, Coop, right? That your wife found pretty quickly.
She found them, yeah. And I know when we were on the break, I talked a little about they're very transparent. So there is an administrative fee. You have the option of not paying the administrative fee if you don't want to. I'd encourage folks to do it because there's a cost to run a system like this, unfortunately. So they have to pay to have someone collect these donations. But if you so feel that's not your choice, and you certainly can uncheck the box, and it will tell you exactly what your donation is. So I think it's a very transparent site, and I think the work they're doing is really, really. I got hats off to my wife. She found this one. Bear was asking me, "Do you know anything?" I said, "Yeah, my wife found this one," and right away she kind of reached out and wanted to do something. So
they've been solid.
Special thanks to Lisa Cooper on this one. So
absolutely, the unsung hero behind the scenes. Yeah.
1,000%. So thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. You can always tune into our Facebook Live on ELOSOFUMAR every Sunday night at 9:30 Central. Normally we started a little bit early tonight to accommodate some schedules, and we were happy that everyone could join us tonight. If you are tuning into us later via podcast, whether you can always tune in on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, or wherever you listen to podcasts, including iHeartRadio. Tonight's audio broadcast is courtesy of Gran Habano Cigars. Honest, compassionate, great cigars. Be sure you download, subscribe, and review today. Tonight's major point, which of course was our review of the Room 101 Johnny Tobbaconaut Toro, was also brought to you by Gran Habano Cigars from the fertile lands of Honduras. George Rico and his family put together the very best vintages for you, the cigar smoker. For value-based hits like Corojo No. 5 to the award-winning 20th anniversary, it's a special projects like Zulu Zulu. Gran Habano is about cultivating the best and making pinnacle cigars for the market. culture, tradition, quality, premium handcrafted. That is Gran Habano Cigars. You can also check us out on YouTube later, the Smoking Syndicate or Ellis Fumar channels, and catch the show later on. Be sure you hit the subscribe button and be sure to hit that little bell as well so you can get notified whenever a new video from Smoking Syndicate drops, or Elos Fumar as well. You can also check out Cigar Coop and the guys from Let's Get Pairing who are part of our panel tonight. They had a great show earlier tonight. You definitely want to check that out if you missed it. And we've got some great stuff going on. Trip, Dennis, what do you guys have on the menu for next week?
Haven't decided yet. I am not certain I will have power because we have a storm rolling in, and the last time a storm this bad hit us, we were without power for 9 days. So we'll see how it works this time.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you and your family stay well, man, and especially with the latest newest addition to the Wall Drop family.
Absolutely.
With a baby, that's no fun. So we wish you all the best this week.
Thank you, guys.
Pray for Mother Nature to decide to change its course and just avoid the entire state of Florida altogether would be wonderful. So, guys, any other notes? Any other thoughts?
Yeah, just a couple of notes on Coop. Just announced, but we literally just got confirmation right before the show. Primetime episode 319. We have Ian Reeds of Dapper Cigars who's going to be on. So that will be on Thursday night. And then a week from Monday, we are doing a show, Dave Burke and I, on Jukebox 141. We're doing a show on The Cure.
Oh, boy.
Nice.
All right.
So, we are doing a show on The Cure. The joke of the show is The Cure, They Rule. And by the way, that is primetime episode 320. I gave you the wrong number. So for the Ian show. But yeah, we'll do 141 is going to be The Cure, They Rule. And that is not my personal opinion of The Cure. It's kind of an expression growing up in college it came up with. So I'll talk the story back. It's a long story, but so check that out. So The Cure is making a comeback album. So we jump right on that stuff when it happens. So check out that.
Fantastic.
Very
From
nice.
the Perdomo Black Studios of Indian Trail, North Carolina, the Rockin' Vodka Studios of Illinois, and the Casa de Monte Cristo Studios of Florida. I'm sitting here in the Alec Bradley Lone Star Studio of Azle, Texas. For everyone out there, he's Aaron, he's Dennis, he's Trip, he's Coop, and guess what, everybody? We'll see you next time.